Test, test. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Now for our third podcast of the Absolute Clarity YouTube channel. Proper Irish whiskey, proper 12. Buy my merchandise, support my next fight, and drink a proper Irish whiskey, proper 12, which actually has to be.
I don't like your whiskey. So you're gonna punch me in the face?
Bruv, Dagestan is all a bloody mob of dogs.
I don't like your whiskey. What you gonna do?
What you gonna do with all that ass? All that ass inside them jeans? I'm gonna make you scream, You! Yo!
So,
Free Lexia.
should we continue the discussion we had at dinner, or maybe not?
Let's talk about something besides that.
A little bit more interesting.
We're not gonna mention the forbidden F word anymore.
Okay. We're not gonna mention it. Fuck that. So, here we are. It's a public holiday tomorrow.
Yeah.
No one's working. Well, some people would be working.
I mean, the Melbourne Cup is just fucked.
There's been a lot of talk about the horses and I guess the aftermath of their short careers.
Yeah.
Care to comment? What do you reckon?
From dying from running mid race and shit.
No. A lot. They've been underquoting how many horses are euthanized.
Yeah.
Don't make it, I guess, make enough money for the trainers and the owners.
Underquoting.
Yeah, I don't know what the figures are. I think they're quoting about like a few thousand, but they're apparently in the tens of thousands or something. So I guess the animal rights people are.
Yeah, keep going.
Your mic's off completely? Really? Hang on. Okay. Can you hear me now? What are you doing?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, so underquoting the amount of horses that get passed away from forcible sodomy in Texas. Yeah.
Well, fuck, man. I think a horse can take it, though. I mean, if you had to have sex with an animal that can take it,
The question is, can you take a horse?
Well, there's been incidences of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
within
there's
the
one
weather.
online as well. I've seen that.
Oh, that's fucked. That's a worry. But speaking about animal sex, I knew a couple of guys that organised to see a girl have sex with a dog. She was really into people. No, this is no word of a lie. I knew these guys that organised to go down to a girl's apartment, and she was really into having sex with dogs, as in dogs fucking her. And she really got off on people, the voyeuristic aspect of people looking at her doing it.
Yeah.
So you have to pay and you can watch her fuck a dog, basically.
It's a true story,
It's
isn't
a true
it?
story, man. No word of a lie. That's fucking weird. Oh, yeah. It's not my cup of tea. But I don't know. Each to their own. If that's what they're into. No animals are hurt, I'm assuming. She gets her rocks off. The dog does too, I guess.
Well, I mean, a dog is a very social, intelligent creature, so it is speculatable that a dog can consent to sex.
The question is, if the girl's having sex with the dog, right? Now, is that considered against the law? I guess it is, really. You can't really do that.
Is bestiality illegal in Australia?
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. But, basically...
Knowing the state of modern feminism, they should probably claim the dog raped her
Hey,
afterwards.
The F word.
You should probably
The
get
F word.
That's a good stand-up joke. You should try that. Did you hear the I asked a mate if the bestiality was illegal in Australia. And he said, yeah, I think it is. And I said, yeah, but look, given the modern state of feminism in Australia, you should probably claim the dog raped her afterwards to get off.
No.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a good one. That is a good one. Yeah, you can try that. Put that in your repertoire. But yeah, no. The point I'm trying to make is, okay, so she's had sex with the dog, but if a guy had sex with a bitch, right? No pun intended. But would he get into more trouble than the girl having sex with the dog?
Yeah, well, look, it'd be considered a lot more perverse and morally reprehensible.
You think so?
Yeah, just from the nature of, you could claim that, it was against the dog's will,
Yeah.
but if a dog was fucking the girl, you'd say it's almost a bit more like statutory rape rather than full rape.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Yeah. Look, if anyone wants to care to comment, please do. Yeah, it's worrying, isn't it? I mean, you're doing the exact same thing. I mean, assuming the guy's not forcefully raping the dog, the bitch, then, the dog was sort of there enjoying it, then what's the difference? Yeah, it's interesting. But anyway, look, it's not my cup of tea. Some people are into it. I don't think it's something that we should really try to encourage out there in the community.
Yeah.
It's I think syphilis came about that way.
Fucking dogs?
Yeah, fucking dogs. That's what I've heard. Yeah, yeah. People fuck dogs and then they got syphilis from the dogs and then spread it to the human race.
Well, how did they get AIDS? Wasn't it something similar to that? Some
Yeah,
guy
monkeys,
speculated that
I've
a guy
heard.
fucked a monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently.
But it could also just be God's punishment for...
For humans being dirty.
Oh, no, I was thinking about tornadoes being... Hurricanes being God's punishment for homosexuality.
Wow, that's getting into some heavy territory, man.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the Bible Belt in America is a tornado zone as well, isn't it? So maybe there's an association there.
Well, that's what a lot of like pastors and stuff have claimed, that
Really?
those hurricanes occur to punish humanity for the homosexuality.
So then, what happens with the innocent families and people that are, living normal, good Christian lifestyle that get caught up in that?
Yeah, well, I guess it's
Oh,
just
so
the
then you blame
casualties.
You blame the
Them for not doing
homosexuals
something.
for
Well,
doing
no, you blame the good Christian families for not doing something about it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's a twofold effect. I like that. Yeah.
That's why. Remember that exclusive sect? Was it Phelps?
David Koresh, maybe?
No, the Phelps. Remember the Phelps family, the ones that used to go pick at the dead soldiers' funerals and shit.
No,
And he was like a real nutcase.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
Is
how
that the most evil family or most hated family in America or something?
Cat's going nuts.
Yeah, but
She gets very hyperactive in the evening, mate. During the day, she just sleeps.
well, cats tend to be more nocturnal. I mean,
She loves it.
It's they obviously expend a lot less energy in the night, in the evening, to get their prey, because during the day it's hot. They sweat or pant or whatever they do. Actually, how do cats call themselves? I mean, dogs pant, humans sweat.
Yeah,
Cats do.
it'd probably be panting as well.
Type of panting, but I know that
Yeah.
if a cat pants, it's usually a sign of stress. So cats don't pant like dogs do. Like just, at the drop of the hat after, chasing a ball for a few.
I mean, pigs
Yes.
sweat like humans. I
Oh,
reckon
yeah.
if you fucked a pig pretty rigorously,
Okay.
it'd probably start sweating a bit like, when a girl does no physical work in the bedroom, but she get in such a state of arousal that she's panting in rhythm with you thrusting. And I've always found that fascinating, because she's not actually exerting herself in any aerobic manner, but she's panting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like she's
Kind of like a pig.
high vent. Well, I guess that's a saying. Hence sweating like a pig. Because when you fuck a pig, they tend to sweat.
Wow. Jeez, man, that's man. I never thought of it that way.
I was just relaying it to my personal experience and trying to make sense of
fucking
that.
the pig.
Yeah, and I was thinking, well, in my personal experience.
Yeah, but that girl, you can't.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
the same thing.
Well, that was a good one.
Come on. It's a bit harsh.
That girl was talking about incest and Tasmanians inbreeding. Talking about that for a good 25 to 30 minutes and going into it. all the intricacies of genetic abnormalities and shit. And then after you left, I was just like, look, I've got a condom at home. Do you want to go back and use it? And she was right up for it, mate. All that talk of incest and deformities got her turned on.
I bet it did.
Huh?
So when you were having sex with her, were you saying, "Oh, sister, baby, you're so beautiful,
Nah.
sister, give me more"?
Betty,
Or
get off the
mummy?
picture.
Was it more of a mummy something?
Betty,
The age gap was there, I think,
Betty,
from memory.
off.
Betty, you're gonna ruin that amazing artwork. It
is amazing.
She's date stamping your artwork. Might add to the value one day.
When she takes a huge shit on it.
Oh, she won't take a shit on it. She's just.
Betty, you're so hyperactive. You give no
She's
love
date
during the
stamping.
day. You just sleep in your beanbag like a Centrelink crack addict. As soon as night comes, you're fucking cleaning the house like a crack addict.
Jeez, yeah.
She must just be on an ice cycle in the evening or something. And sleep during
She
the day or
must
some
be,
shit.
yeah. Fuck, she's the best looking cat I've ever seen. If she was a female, I'd definitely marry her.
Yeah.
She's got beautiful eyes, great jawline,
Yeah.
great personality too.
What did that ex girlfriend say about your comments about the cat's ass?
Oh, well, she made a point about Betty, my cat, having
Yeah.
a grotesque ass. So she wasn't an ex-girlfriend; she was a friend of mine. And then in case she ever watches this, which I doubt it, but anyway. And then I proceeded to say, "Oh, look, this is like a day or two later." I just commented on how much of a nice ass my cat has, right?
Yep.
And then I just added that, she's got a nice ass because it's sexual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she didn't go down too well, man.
What do you reckon was going through her head when you were saying that?
Oh, she's just thinking that I was being a grotesque man, or person, or thing.
Yeah.
Probably didn't even look at me as a human for a split moment in time. She just associated me. I think visually, she probably visualized me sort of sexualizing.
I think
the
what's
cat in
going
some
on
way,
is all
which
women.
I never would do.
I think what's going on, besides the fact that all women are fucked, all women all women
All women are
they
fucked.
like to
No, you
think
gotta
that
say
a
it right.
guy
You're not saying
is
it.
sexually interested in them for deeply romantic and personal reasons.
Yes.
So they like to think that although sex is dirty and raunchy, there's a deep romantic connection that's going on there as well. And that you feel a deep romantic pull towards that girl. So when you cheapen sex by just going, her ass looks sexy,
Yeah.
it's not that she's jealous, but she's thinking, geez, how cheap is this man's sexual experience, or how cheap is this guy's sexual constitution
Yeah, that makes sense.
that even his own cat's sexual.
Mm.
Then she's probably relaying it to herself, like maybe I'm just nothing.
I'm no
romantically-
similar to a pathetic, stupid cat.
Yeah, there's no romantic, romantically meaningful
Yeah,
reason.
but from a male's perspective, I mean, sex is not romantic. It's this lustful, high energy kind of thing. I mean, it can be soft and elegant in a way, but
I don't like
soft-
fucking chicks too early these days, man. Like, I like to delay it
shit.
a bit. No, I like to
Delay it for maybe an hour or two.
Yeah, no. Even when I'm getting busy, I hate when it just goes straight from kissing out to fucking within
Is that what you're talking
within a direct path within like 5 minutes or 3 minutes. I prefer to draw it out.
See, I'm the opposite to that. I prefer to fuck first and then kiss later.
Do ya?
Yeah, I just like to stick it in when it's all dry and my cock's not really that hard.
You like to just
I just
fuck before even
shove it in.
foreplay or arousal, basically.
Fucking oath, man.
Or even consciousness. You just like you'd fuck it before they wake up.
Look, I mean, I can't say that that's something that I would indulge in. But come to think of it, maybe I have had a bit of sex like that. Half asleep in the middle of the night, sort of thing. Waking up and just going for it for a bit. It's quite a weird feeling, really.
Yeah.
But no, as a general rule, I think sex should be like this really raw, kind of act in a way. It's an act. It is an act, obviously. Like everything that we do is an act. Whether you scratch your nose or pick your ass, sex is just another act that you do.
So I guess I'm a little bit more feminine, like with my
Well, obviously,
sex,
yes.
because I like the idea of going out to dinner and letting it go through a process. No, really. Yeah, I'm not talking shit. I'm not trying to be pretentious. Like, what do you call it? Like a
Faggot.
Yeah, essentially. Look, I'm not trying to be a poofter, but I do like it going through that process. I don't know what it is actually about that either.
What, marrying the girl first?
Yeah, like
No.
fully getting a joint bank account before any sexual intimacy occurs. Nah,
Of course. Yeah.
nah, just
That reminds me.
ideally going through having dinner,
Yep.
talking for a bit, all in the same evening. I don't
Oh.
necessarily want it to go over several days, but I
I
find
like
that
that
more
too, don't get me wrong.
rewarding than
It's
just
nice.
going straight to sex.
Yeah, I'd rather. Some of the fastest sex I ever had was I was staying in a hostel, and I said hello to this one girl that was staying in there, and I reckon within probably 2 minutes we're having sex. That's probably the fastest pickup I've ever had. I mean, maybe not 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I kissed her, and she was a lot older. I was a younger, strapping young lad.
Yeah.
And, I was into the older girls back then. And, she had the tits and the ass. She was pretty hot. And we had sex, like, within minutes.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. And I think that's probably the best sex I've ever had because, it was just straight into it. And I think that's how it should be every single time. You talk later. You discuss things first. Get the animal urges out of the way. Don't even kiss. I mean, kissing is quite a passionate, beautiful thing. Get the beauty out. Go straight for it. Blow each other's load. And then have a conversation. That's all I think it should.
Do you think
I think
that's
humans?
Do you
in
think
our
that's
culture have got it wrong.
fundamentally what's catastrophically wrong about men's approach to getting women? I'm joking.
Well,
Do you think you nailed it very succinctly on how to derail?
No,
Fucking most women?
I'd argue that it's women's fault on that, and they're expecting far too much.
Furthermore, women
All women are fucked.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, the reality is that when I approach a girl, I mean, she's already wet before I even open my mouth up. I mean, I'm that much of a sexually amazingly looking man, and it's it's just one of those things. So I mean, I'm ready to go. I get a hard on every time I speak to a female.
So like when you're at the pub talking.
Yeah.
I love the body language every time I interrupt you.
Yeah.
It was like that Neil
It
was like that Neil deGrasse Tyson podcast with Joe Rogan, and someone's put a cut together of him interrupting Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's like every time I interrupt him,
He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
he just talks over top of him. Yeah, go ahead, sorry man.
So I mean, just let things go. Just have sex first, and then deal with the civilized aspects of your interaction with the opposite sex later. Just get it over and done with. Just do it. Just bang away. No foreplay, nothing. Dry. Or, in my case, always wet. And then you just do it, and then, you proceed to discuss, I don't know, each other's bank accounts, etc.
Yeah.
That's how it should be done. So we've got it all wrong.
So you reckon go full chimp at the beginning, and then go
Yeah, full chimp, I like that.
Renaissance romantic era after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Go Neanderthal.
So go primal reptilian level of the brain, fight or flight or fuck.
Now you're talking. Yeah,
Yeah.
really primal, like lizards.
Bit like
Lizard
what's the animals like 3 dicks that come out and just like inseminate or something? I don't know if it's a lizard or a sperm whale or a fucking.
Fuck.
Anyway,
The sperm whale. That's what they called it. The sperm whale, right?
you're pretty much talking like Species, that movie Species, where the girl just like shoves a fucking something up their ass and impregnates them, or how it works.
Fuck.
You're pretty much
Shove
talking
it,
about
shove
like aliens, just like shove the face hugger
Procreating.
eggs in its mouth and then have a conversation afterwards.
Yeah, maybe that's how the aliens do it. I mean, they're probably so evolved that they get the base out the way,
Yeah.
and then they talk about, fucking Nietzsche and,
Yeah.
Einstein and,
Yeah.
get to that level. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't let it hinder you. The more you let it hinder you, the less evolved you'll be.
Yeah.
So everyone out there, just have sex when
Chimp
you first
style.
meet. Yeah, chimp style. Just
Yeah.
get it out the way, and then deal with the niceties later. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, as I said, I think upon further reflecting on it, I think in my define.
Reflecting on this.
No. Upon further reflection, my own opinion of drawing it out. So there's a bit of not a bit of romance, but a bit of dinner and warming up to one another before I have sex. I think maybe what I'm doing is on a deep strategic level. I'm probably knowing that it's ensuring her connection to me more.
Wow, that's
maybe.
That's very sensitive of you, man.
Well, it's a very selfish view.
Is
Do you
it
know what I mean? Because
selfish?
I'm maybe thinking on a subconscious level, I'm thinking I've got a high chance of having sex with this girl if I go through the rigmarole of listening to her problems and buying a dinner.
Oh well, I mean, yeah. I mean
No, I'm
that
joking.
that
I'm
is
joking.
how things kind of work. But that's a process. I think. I mean, eventually, if you do it long enough with enough girls, you will find the right one. I'm guessing. But then again, when you look out in the suburb out there, kind of doesn't tend to last that long with couples. I mean, most people are just fighting. I don't know why people are fighting so much. I mean, we don't have any wars anymore. We've got
Fighting
abundance
about what?
of food. Exactly. About what?
But what do they fight about?
Well, who fucking knows? I mean, I think it's just a personality thing a lot of the time with couples. I mean, look at my exes as well. I think the personalities weren't there a lot of the time to start with, I suppose.
Do you think that's a common theme amongst all women?
I'm not going to go there.
I feel like
I'm not
a
going to go there, mate. No, it's not that at all.
feel
It's
like
just
a forensic investigator baiting you into an answer
trying
that's going to
to
get a
pick-
conviction.
Trying to pick my brain, aren't you? Trying to trap me.
Objection, Your Honour.
Solicitor.
Leading question.
Mm.
Your Honour, my question was completely in line and it was designed to qualify the defendant's frame of mind at the time of the murder. Question sustained. Continue. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah, well, what the is that your alter ego talking? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. People fight. Why do people fight so much? In general.
But what are they
I mean,
fighting about? Do you mean like physical fights, or are you talking about like because you got a stain on your top?
Disagreements that are really vicious and undermine relationships. When people start bickering at each other, it's like, why do you do that, dick? And why do you do that, bitch? And it just goes on and
Goes on.
people just fucking break down.
Yeah. Just gonna pour myself another vodka. Do you want?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that too, man. Yeah, I think that I think people rush a lot into things in general, with their careers, with their with their lovers in particular. There isn't a very thoughtful process involved.
Yeah.
People just jump in because at the end of the day, and it's hard for girls because they've got a biological clock, so they've got to think fast. They can't be 40 years old like what I am,
Yep.
and just go, yeah, fuck it, I'll just drift on and, maybe have kids one day or whatever. I mean, they've got a limitation to that. And it's a very real limitation. So, there is a tendency that they jump in. And it's, people do it to each other. And, I don't know, I think it's a sad state of affairs, to be honest. It's kind of like traditionally people didn't have any choice anyway because, you married the first girl you fucked and that was it. But these days we've got choice, but we don't really as well. I mean, there's all the pressures of, evolving and doing the thing you got to do, having a family, having kids and all that sort of shit. Yeah, intertwined in amongst all that, there's the romance that you're expected to have with your partner, but is it real? Was it ever there? It's a very modern concept, don't you think? I mean, what the fuck is romance, man? I mean, how long does it last, really? A month, 2 months, a year maybe, if you're really into the person? I mean, come on. Reality bites at some stage. So I think that's what happens with people. And there's no social framework in order to deal with that problem. I don't know. Ramble on.
I think it's about compromise, like what you're saying about back then, the older generation, they had to compromise to make it work. So if you compromise enough, then you'll both be on an even keel. But if one person thinks they can do better and feel held back by the other person really doesn't give a shit about the other person, then they're just going to move apart, aren't they? So I guess it's a
kiss of goodbye.
A negotiation when two parties need to make it work because they're both at their best they can get.
But this is on the backdrop that it really is okay to leave your partner. Ultimately, if you're not happy, then you shouldn't be with them. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. And I mean, like Jordan Peterson always talks about how it's a problem. You're far better off being married and staying married and working things out. I mean, statistically speaking, you are. People in marriages and long-term marriages tend to live longer and healthier lives. And it does make sense. I mean, if you've got another partner where you've got an intimate relationship with them and you're raising kids and you've got, a really good lifestyle, I suppose, you could have a very, very fulfilling life as opposed to being a single fucking bum that goes out and drinks. I shouldn't say that. I mean, if you're a single person that goes out and drinks every weekend, well, there's effects on your health. There's, if you've got no one to really talk to and bounce ideas off, well, you don't have that extra support. I think there really is value in having another set of ears to go through your problems with and to battle life through with a partner. I do believe that. Having said that, if you're a bit of a loner like I am, I've always been a loner, well, I tend to just go through life working shit out myself and, I do it quite reasonably. But I think the average person is definitely better off with a significant other, Anyway. But anyway, they're so dysfunctional, so fuck, I don't know. Maybe they're not that great. Anyway, the problems are that we haven't realised that we're spirits in a material world, living a human life with all the pain and agony associated with that. And then we forget our true self, which is that we are spirits in a material world. Wank, 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 wank. Oh, yeah. Xenu has saved the world. Mythology, Scientology. Yeah, I know. I wonder why. Have you ever been to like a meeting, like a Scientology meeting? Yeah, I did like this personality test once. I was wagging school back when I was about 17. Yep. And I ended up in one of the Church of Scientology, or it looked like a church anyway. This building that was, the Church of It was a church of the Church of Scientology, and did this test, and then this guy had this little lecture, and there's a few people hanging around and stuff, and obviously my personality was off the charts in the sense that there was serious adjustments I had to make according to the tests that I did. But anyway, so they tried to convince me about how I have to change certain behaviours and stuff like that. And they gave me a book and whatnot, and then, I just threw it in the pile and never went back to them. But I did think that they were genuinely trying to help. Or they believed in the process that would help them. Will help people, I suppose. But it was all... Well, I've only stopped yelling for the last half an hour or so. So, yeah. Yeah, well, I can't help it because she's such a beautiful little animal. I can't help it, because I'm human. I need to hug. And cats don't like hugs. Well, this cat in particular. But, she just doesn't like being held. But I can't help it sometimes. I mean, I still grab her and hold her and be ultra affectionate towards her. But I can get very ultra affectionate towards her. Yeah. Thank you, big boy. It's Smirnoff, yes. Sounds great. Yeah, Smirnoff, eat your heart out. If you want to sponsor us, anytime. Yeah.
Some.
Best vodka is Smirnoff. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I like that the theory. Yeah. That'd be cool. Yeah. Yeah, Chantel. You see, I've always found it interesting what people how people define bogan. I mean, everyone's got such a different view. Some people think it's just a representation of poor people. So in other words, if you're poor and you just don't have a very nice car and stuff, you're a bogan. But obviously, you've got to be of an Anglo background, or you've got to be white. Basically, you can't be Indian and be a bogan, or I don't know, Uzbekistani and be a bogan. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You've got to be of an Anglo background. Then that's a common thread, I suppose. But some people think that being bogan is having a certain attitude, as in you just go to the footy and you go to the pub every night, and that constitutes a bogan.
Yeah.
Other people define it as being the way you talk, in a way. If you're more suburban, you don't have that polished kind of inner city swagger about you. Kind of like the way you do, man. The way I do. So there's a lot of layers to it, but I would say the most bogan name is Chantel.
Or Tamika.
Tamika. Well, but you know what's funny?
Harley.
But a lot of those names, I think, are American sort of fad names, aren't they?
Yeah, but
you get Caleb and
you get high percentage of Australians who are in bogan suburbs calling their daughters that. You'd have to have trends amongst names for different suburbs. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like in black communities in America, they are more likely to call their daughter Shaniqua or
Sharonda,
rather than Isabella.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? So you have those trends.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, where these trends come from, it is weird. I mean, you've got an interesting name. Tell us about your name. It's Adam.
I prefer not to disclose my ethnic background on it.
Oh, okay, no worries. Cool. Well, my name. I can tell you what a bit about my name then, just to
Go on, mate.
deflect. I was named after my grandfather, basically. That was it. It was as simple as that. There was no choice that was made by my parents. It was my father's name.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was as simple as that. There was no deliberating. There was no trends. There was nothing like that. It was just a tradition that goes on and on. And yeah, that's why I'm called George.
So, do you reckon it was...
Yeah.
When I found that out, I thought you really do love yourself.
Yeah.
Anything more egotistical than going, "Hey, honey, I'm gonna."
Well, yeah, I think it's. Look, it is, but it's also. It could be just something that maybe his dad's name's Connor. Is it? I don't know. Maybe
I
it's.
don't know.
You know, because families do kind of have that sort of. I guess. Tradition or whatever. But you know, funny that you mentioned that. I mean, speaking about fighters, Robert Duran, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, man, this guy fought like 100 plus fights, 120 pro boxing fights.
Yep.
Freak of a fighter, right? Fought Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, all the big names, and you know, he's up there. He's a top 10 boxer of all time, sort of thing. He had a lot of kids. I think he had a few sons, and they're all called Robert Duran.
Yeah.
Maybe Connor's just topping him. I don't know.
But what's going through those people's heads when they're doing it? I think it's about trying to crystallize a legacy. So they're saying, we'll keep the same name, we'll keep it simple, and people will know that this is the lineage. But he loves himself so much where if he wasn't a professional fighter with all that success, he wouldn't be calling his son Connor. It's just confusing. But he's thinking, let's really crystallize my name.
I mean,
it's like, I'm gonna bestow this great honor on my child of giving him my name. But it's like,
it's kind
you
of like
fuckhead, give him his own name, man. It's gonna be confusing around the house. She's gonna call out Connor, come to bed, and his son's gonna go in and fuck his wife.
Wow, that went down an interesting path.
Or I'm coming, Connor, I'm coming, and he's in the next room going, Mum, I really felt this way about me, I felt that way too. And then she's like, kick out of me. And then he gets smashed out, and then he gets karate kicked through the fucking plaster wall by his dad.
Oh man, that's fucking disturbing, dude. Fuck, that's disturbing. Funny, but disturbing.
I reckon when this channel gets to 1 million subscribers, someone's going to mash up the best of. And that will definitely be in there.
Oh, yeah.
So do a best of mash up. That one.
Be them talking about
All
Connor's son fucking.
Thing? Like when they do the best of, it'll all be me, like straight to finish.
It won't be me.
I'll be one clip. Yeah. Maybe something. It'll just be all me. No, I'm joking.
Mildly funny, yeah.
I'm joking.
That's cool, man. I'm happy to play second fiddle. I always have in my life. That's why women don't want me. That's why I hate women.
The rise of the incel.
The incel, yeah. Man, when you showed me that clip, I thought, fucking hell, man. I can really relate to these people. No.
Did I show you?
Oh, you sent it to me. I had a look, yeah.
The incel? No, not that. Oh, I'm talking about the actual footage, the interview footage of the... I'll show you that later. It's fucked. The interrogator's like, do you know what happened in that incident? He goes, yes, he took a gun and he changed their life status from living to dead.
So
fully autistic.
So what's the background story of this? Because People aren't going to know what the fuck we're talking about.
Incel is someone who's involuntarily celibate.
Is that where the term incel? Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Incel.
Yep.
Because they get pussy, and they believe they're really top guys, and women are shallow, and that's why they go for the jocks. And just sort of
The Chads and the
If
Stacies.
you're a Chad and you're on the lacrosse team and you're good looking and you're a dumb cunt but confident, you're obviously going to have a lot better odds of picking up women than some autistic kid cunt. And that's the reality of it. But these guys then go on a forum in an echo chamber and bitch about how women aren't interested in their really high value guys. And then they go and commit murders by like 2 of them have like gone and run over people, like killed people to pay back.
So this guy that we're talking about actually killed people on that basis, right?
Yeah, we copied what the other guy did, but they were already pre-planned it. Yeah,
There's a whole
they
group
all
of
went on
these
the
guys,
they
didn't
all
they?
went on the forum.
Right.
What do you mean? It's a whole group of the guys? You've got an account, mate.
No, but I mean, there's a whole group of murdering guys.
You're the admin of that forum,
Of
aren't you?
course I am. Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. So,
You founded it like back in 1997.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Of course I did.
Obviously, internet was just coming into its own there, but now it's really taken off.
Look, we used to have the old internet stuff.
Dial up.
It was all the old dial up and stuff. Right, so this guy and a bunch of other guys ended up killing people for the same purpose. So it's kind of like it's a cult, man. That's a cult.
It's a cult,
Yeah,
but it's
fuck.
also like this guy was autistic, and I use that word quite liberally, but he was actually diagnosed with autism, and the detective was saying like he suspects him of autism, and he was.
What's your theory that I think all guys are a little bit autistic?
Well, that's what Leo, Lord and Saviour, and Messiah Leo from actualize.org reckons. He said men are a bit autistic, and it's true because their right and their left hemisphere are separated. So they're like, I was trying to think of an analogy. It's like a computer. A computer can be very, very specialised in the one task, but it's not necessarily integrated. And a computer can't appreciate nuances, but it can do very specific number crunches.
Yeah.
So a computer can decipher code way faster than a human. But if you ask a computer to construct a play or negotiate, it's not going to have the same prowess as a negotiator because that's a very right brain activity.
Yeah, but you need the combination of the right and the left. But,
well, what they reckon with CAT scans show that females' hemispheres are less divided, so there's less of a right and left.
I think it's
and
called
it's more connected.
The corpus callosum.
But they're a bit right brain dominated anyway.
Yeah.
They're a bit more intuitive and stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But then because of that, they probably lack that very specialised high capacity processing.
Yeah.
And logical reasoning that
yeah.
males have.
I mean, I would say that you and I are quite right brained on one level.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, we're not your average, drone that goes to work and that's it. I mean, we like to experiment with our thinking and we do. Well, you've got more artistic pursuits than I do. What I find it interesting is that it doesn't matter whether you're left or right. If you've got
money, all your problems are solved.
Yeah, well, there's that as well. But if you define, if you're you're either left or right dominated, but you're either one or the other in a way, and it's not necessarily it makes you feminine or male, but I think as a general rule, women switch from that. In a way, they are kind of, because geniuses apparently can switch between the two very quickly, the left and the right. And women, I think, kind of do that a little bit more. They can be really emotional in 1 second, and then the next second they can, jump to logic and reason a bit more. Whereas we've got a tendency to just like fixate in one sphere. And I think it's interesting that there is that distinctive difference between the sexes. It's. But having said that, ultimately, whatever you do, you've got to be able to burn a hole through whatever you're doing. So if you're studying, whether you're doing artistic pursuits or you're, you know, a mathematician, ultimately what you got to do is focus on it so hard that you get to a level of competency that's beyond the normality, so you can stand out and shine and get success, you know. So you got to, everything goes back to focus. You got to be able to focus no matter what you are or who you are, you know. Fuck, I talk a lot of shit, man. Oh, fuck it. Between the two of us, man, fuck, we can go on about crap. Smirnoff, eh? Do you really think there's a difference in vodkas, though? I don't see it myself. Maybe because I drink it with tomato juice.
All vodkas are fuck.
Do you really find a difference between your Smirnoffs and your Absolutes? And
You can ask yourself the question: what degree is marketing? What degree is there a difference?
yeah, well, how
You
much?
could say
of
you could say it's
something-
60%, well, 70% marketing, 30% difference.
Yeah, but with Scotch there are differences. If you can taste, I find there's a distinctive difference between Shivers and, let's say, Johnny Walker Red.
They probably only distill it once.
Yeah.
Get back in and
It's expensive, yeah. So, like, when you say impurities, I mean, fuck, it's alcohol. I mean, I don't get it. Okay. Yeah, well, yeah.
already got most of the toxic shit out
Yeah.
after your first one. You know what I mean?
You probably would have, I reckon.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I don't know. but
Maybe that's
I'm
just,
guessing that you probably have.
Is that triple distilled or is that?
Oh, I doubt it. It's just a base Smirnoff. I'd say it'd be just single. But, I honestly don't think.
Vodka is a disgusting concept
Oh,
anyway.
it is triple distilled. How about that?
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like after your first distill, I don't necessarily going to get a benefit up the third one. And that sort of distilled 3 times, but really it's only once. But it's sort of done something where they're going through a process 3 times, so it's not really.
Yeah, gotcha. So it's not actually 3 separate events.
Yeah, it might just be all on the same system, and then they're just going. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, okay.
at what point does the cost and the labour time of doing that? It's like, well, fuck it, we'll just bullshit it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
30%.
But Smirnoff is the standard vodka, isn't it? You know, it's always been around. There's been a lot of other vodkas that have come and gone, but it's you know, it's always been around. So.
It definitely is a cleaner drink than drinking Goon, especially casket
Goon.
wine. But the problem is, the irony is, you tend to smash that quicker, so you get a worse hangover anyway. Because if you're drinking beer, you tend to hydrate yourself a bit more and don't get as smashed as fast as if you... Like, if you polished that yourself as quickly as possible, you'd be fucked.
Oh, yeah.
But it's hard to polish enough beers quick enough to really fuck
true.
yourself. That's what I'm saying. So, you triple distilled, probably has less methanol than wine. But the way people drink it means you get more fucked up anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So...
yeah, I thought it was interesting how you were talking about methanol in wine, and that's the reason why, especially red wine, it gets you drunk a lot more, or you get worse hangovers.
Yeah, get a worse hangover, but obviously in Australia it has a limit to how high that can be. And probably modern wine probably has fuck all methanol. Probably traditional wine, like the first wine that came out in Persia and shit, that was probably fucked.
Really?
Well, that was probably like really high.
But then why
But
is
they
methanol
probably
created?
refined it
Is
commercially, huh?
Yeah, okay. But I think you probably spoke told me before, but why would there be more methanol in wine as opposed to beer? Is it just
Because it comes from wood products. So if you leave,
okay?
for example, if you were to,
Pips?
yeah, but they'll get rid of those. But yeah, maybe actually the small pips in the wine that
Yeah.
might leave in. How do you get
Yeah,
rid of
and
that?
grapes,
You
yeah.
couldn't be commercially viable to try and remove all those pips.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And I think
Maybe they
that
do.
Shirazes have quite large pips.
Yeah.
Like, they're not very good. A lot of the grapes the varieties like your Merlots and your Shiraz and all that, they're not very good at eating grapes.
Yeah.
They tend to have thick skins and.
Yeah. If you wanted to make a cleaning product, what you'd do, the most economic way you'd do that would take wood
Mm.
and you'd distill wood. You'd ferment wood.
Oh,
Right.
So you create.
So that'd be methanol, right? If you drunk that, that'd probably kill you.
Mhm.
Yeah, you'd actually get smashed. You'd be fine. And then once your body turns it into the byproduct, you'd be dead.
What's a byproduct of methanol?
I meant metabolite, like what it breaks it down into. You know what I mean? Because your body breaks down ethanol into one thing, it breaks methanol into something poison.
So it's like a toxin.
Yeah. So, but in an economic sense, what you do. So I use this as a pickup line. She's like, I'm gonna fucking go to the toilet. It's fucked up.
By the way, Dem and I were out at a nightclub, and I was talking to a couple of girls, and I thought, man, I'm in here.
Do you reckon Khan's fact checking all this shit?
Probably. And then I even got him a drink, and we're having a good time. And then they said, "Oh, look, we've got to go to the toilet," and they never came back.
Fucked up.
Yeah, well, shit happens.
You probably said to unload feminism on them or something.
Of course I did, yeah. No, I think I was talking about drug use.
Oh yeah.
And they got
Pissed 'em off.
offended, or they. Oh. Yeah, I didn't think they didn't take to it very well.
Yeah. There are some people on both sides of the spectrum with that. They either hate it, love it, or some people in the middle. But some people have strong views. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I'm just going to autistically hold this concrete point. That's the grain of the natural flow of the conversation. But
Be my guest.
so yeah, if you're going to economically make a big batch of cleaning alcohol, it's more economic just to chop down trees and bark and shit. So if you chuck bark
that makes sense.
into a barrel, you can ferment that and turn that into alcohol, and you can get smashed off that. No, you just get smashed off it whether you distill it or not. Once you ferment it, it'll kill you the next day.
Because it's methanol.
So with things like wine, there's probably the pips, like you said, and maybe some other plant products that go in there.
The tannins. And
But see, here's the thing. You know what counters the negative effects of methanol?
No idea.
You love this. Ethanol. So if you ever get methanol poisoning, which sometimes happens in Thailand and places like that,
Yeah, sure.
to counter it, you drink more alcohol.
Wow.
More
Fascinating.
ethanol.
Oh, shit. Well, so anyone out there, and if you travel, I know there was a few incidences of that back in Bali a few years ago, There's a lot of methanol. Because they've got like a local spirit, which I would say it's called arak. And I think it relates to like the Greek and Turkish raki, or rakia. And apparently, a lot of people got sick. And actually, I had an incident. I don't know if it was if it was methanol, but I was at a mate's Bucks Day event thing. He was getting married over there. There was a bunch of us. There was probably about 20 blokes, and we all had Long Island iced teas.
Yeah.
And everyone was pretty sober. Then we
Long Island iced tea.
Yeah. Have a shower. Have a shower.
Have a shower.
Anyway, and I swear I've never seen this. It was bizarre looking at this, but we all had this Long Island iced tea, and if anyone wants to know, Long Island iced tea's got like about 4 basic spirits, right? And being barley, it could have been methanol, right? Anyway, it was fucking strong. We all drank it, and I swear everyone's eyes just glazed over.
Yeah.
Like we're all possessed, man.
Yeah.
And no one got sick or anything, but I just remember how smashed we all got from one drink. And we're all like, relatively, burly blokes, I suppose, There's no like little stick figures or little Pee Wee Hermans floating around. We're all middle aged ish kind of relatively well weighted blokes. And fuck man, that was fucking weird. We're all smashed. But yeah, anyway. Could that be the methanol? Does methanol get you more drunk? Maybe.
Oh, I don't think so, but it could have been a really high percentage of alcohol.
Yeah,
Plus,
Yep.
you can put like absinthe. How they have the traditional absinthe has the
Yeah.
wormwood.
Yep.
Wormwood that gives you hallucinogenic effect.
Yep.
Might have been something like that, or they mixed it with something that makes you more sensitive to alcohol, like GHB. You know that?
Okay, maybe. It would have been a very subtle version of it. But
Yeah.
Maybe. So is methanol methylated spirits?
Yeah, well, that's how they'd make that. They'd make it from a wood product because it'd be more economic.
Yep.
But alcoholics, right,
Mm.
they'll try and smash that because it's cheap and fucking high percentage. They put a bittering agent in that. If you go taste it, it's really bitter.
Oh, okay.
They artificially put it in there because otherwise fucking alcoholics will go nuts and that fucking kill themselves. You know what I mean? Because that's a pretty cheap bottle, man. You get that, it's high percentage. Go nuts, and then next day you fucking wake up with a hangover and die. You know what I mean?
Fuck that.
So yeah, apparently it's really bitter. Like I tasted it once, like a little bit like that. It's not really anything, but it's pretty.
Oh, that's okay, man. If you want to,
I'll just shelf the whole bottle.
yeah, if you want to, discuss what you did, in a very open public place about drinking methylated spirits every second night, that's fine. No.
Yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, like overseas, those full moon parties and stuff, people have died because they've had high high methanol in it. Probably because dodgy ways have made alcohol, and even the bootleg era of moonshine and shit.
Yeah. Back in the
She's like, is there something wrong with you? You're just going on about weird shit. No, we're not enjoying this.
Well, I mean, funny that you mention it because I was at the full moon party a couple of months ago, and man, the price difference between the supposed Smirnoffs and the good vodkas and the good, spirits was huge compared to the local shit, And the local shit, they just had bottles of this stuff, like almost in used Coke containers and shit, Coke bottles and stuff. So. It definitely would have been ones they made. Yeah, definitely. So. Yeah. But in the middle of Thailand, no one cares, man. They're not gonna. Yeah, sure thing. Oh, jeez, that's strong, man. Whew. Anyway. wait a second, that's
Test. 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 Oh, it's the back. Test. Yeah, it's working now. Fuck. I must have lost most of it then. Fuck. Hello. Hello. Test. Yeah, it was a back connection. Fuck. Oh.
test.
That's gone again. Hello? Hello? Is yours off? Hello? Test. 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 Hello? Test. 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 Hello? Hello? Test 1, 2. Test. Test. Hello? 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 Test. Hello? 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 He's an absolute pig of a man. No, I know the couple well. I know the couple very well. And he's a pig of a man.
So tell us a story about that. What happened there to incite that kind of emotion?
Well, the conservative elitist older woman across the next door neighbour in North Melbourne, which is quite a elitist senior sort of community, long-term house owners. I was trying to work out who the landlord was, and she saw it as a good opportunity to show how smitten she was with the landlord, and affiliated she was with the owners of the property around the place. So she goes, "Oh no, I know the landlord well. Yeah, I'm very very good friends with the wife. Very very good friends. I know them well. Oh, he's a pig of a man though. Obviously, he's a pig of a man. Basically." But she's trying to prove like how she was all cozy with the landlord and shit. Because she knew the wife well, but she wanted to caveat that by saying he's an absolute pig of a man, which I didn't really know why that was necessary to say that, but
To essentially a bunch of strangers.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And obviously she's just by default taking the side of the girl because she's probably closer friends.
Oh, because they were divorced, weren't they? The landlord and her friend, which was the ex-wife. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's worrying, isn't it? But it's funny. What's even funny is how much that kind of innuendo and gossip that we just take as normal. Like, how often do you hear like, "Oh, you got to watch that guy because he's a bit of a fucking cunt and whatever," and you just take it on, and you can't inevitably you just start thinking that they're like that, but you don't really know the people.
What's going on there is the same thing as religion. So you always subscribe to the religion you were born into, right? And it's very rare to take on a different religion. So by default, you'll have the religion you're born into. Now, how do you explain that other than the fact it's just indoctrination?
It's pure indoctrination. There's no other way of it.
There's no other statistical explanation. All right, so if we can say that happens with religion, that's exactly what happens with people taking sides with marriage breakups. And by default, the women will take the side of their best friend because there's actually there's a political incentive to taking the side of your friend. Because if you take the side of the other guy, the other party, your friendship's over with that girl. True?
Yeah, but how's that got to do with politics? Oh, you're talking about everyday sort of...
yeah, there's a political incentive. Because same way there's a political incentive to agreeing with your manager. I've seen that time and time again. With the most absurd, ethically absurd behaviour of a manager, and the other guys will sit back and gutlessly rationalise the manager's behaviour to stay on his good side.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to because otherwise you won't have a job.
Yeah, exactly. So there's an incentive to take the side. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're incentivised to reason and align your reasoning with that. Same with religion. If you're born into it, you're incentivised and indoctrinated to think it. Now that's what's going on with breakups. You never get, very rarely will you get the person taking the opposing view of the ex-husband or the ex-wife. They will align with who their friend is. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to stick by your friends, right? And your family, so to speak. Or,
from an objective point of view, there's no validity to it. There's no... You would have a better probability of guessing who was actually at fault by flicking a coin. So if you have a breakup and you tell me this is why when you talk about, I'm not going to name names, when you talk about ex-wives of certain people, there's statistically a better probability of finding out who's in the right by flicking a coin.
Well, it's the same with myself, with my exes.
Exactly. Yeah. And same with my ex-girlfriends. Yeah. I could be the nutcase.
Yeah.
And that's the only logical, rational way to go about it.
I know definitely that I am the nutcase, but no. All jokes aside. Yeah.
It's very enlightened of you.
I think that power in generally is... I mean, it's like you're talking about chaos and order. Yeah. And it's like these two opposing forces. Well, you can think of that with me. I'm order, and the girl's always chaos. No, I'm kidding. What I'm trying to say is that you're always going to have like these different forces that clash, and with a girlfriend or a wife, it is a very similar sort of dynamic. I mean, 1 minute you've got the upper hand. Because, you've said this. Yep. Next minute she's got the upper hand because she said that. And then, she implies something, then you imply. And it just goes on. It's a fucking merry-go-round, man. It's a fucking joke, really. And it just goes on and on and on. And I think what happens with a lot of people is it goes on and on to the point where everyone's just saturated and just, all their energy's sapped dry, and they're like, fucking, we've got to get the fuck out of here. I don't know. What do you think? I mean,
I just think you need a more objective criteria to establish who's right
Yeah, definitely.
than taking the default side of who your friends are, because that's exactly the same as religion, as whatever religion you're born into. And
Well, the question I've got is, why do you have to take sides? Is it possible to just, accept what your friends do?
it depends about how morally egregious it is. So I'll give you an example of a clear-cut one. Let's say you find out the husband was molesting the kids.
Yep.
Should you take a side then, or would you say it's all just
that's a pretty extreme situation?
Bipartisan?
I think it's possible to be bipartisan within that, and not bipartisan. Sorry, jeez.
I think I completely fucked up that word. So let's retract that one and neutral.
Well, I mean they've broken the law, right? Quite heinously, man. Like, child molestation.
So you agree there's a standard below which it's not neutral,
but
and you take a side.
You're talking about general moral standards.
But that's what I'm saying. That there are grey areas of morally clear cut.
If she fucked another guy, let's say there's a couple, and
if he was in a wheelchair, return ex-serviceman.
Yeah.
In a wheelchair, he'd provided for her, did all this stuff for her.
Yep.
Went to Iraq, and then you found out she went and fucked a guy. You could maybe say, maybe she was more desperate because she didn't have a functional male, but you could also say she's more of a maniacal cunt.
You could say either. Well, what matters is that, I mean, the question I've got is, yeah, I know it's crazy, but you make a valid point. I mean, at what point does it become?
Answer your question with.
Have you got a crescent dick? Yeah, I don't know, man. I think if you treat people as mature adults that make their own choices, then you're not taking any sides. You're just accepting circumstances to be the way they are, and then you move on. Like, no one expects, I don't know, you to do anything really in everyday life. But, which is why we've got a kind of civilized society on one level. Yeah. People aren't killing each other on the street every day. I mean, there is some violence in our society, but by and large, we live a pretty peaceful life. And I think
I also think that's just because it's not as socially rewarding in our society to be going around killing people. Whereas in Somalia and shit, it might be more socially rewarding, because what else have they fucking got to look forward to?
Maybe.
I mean, where's the joy in their day?
You could say that. But, the way I see it is that I think people do respect each other's spaces. And it's an extension of that. When things get personal is when people get ugly and nasty and maniacal. Yeah. So then you've got to take a side. Well, I mean, fuck, he fucked that chick, or fucking, he fucked, she fucked my mate and all that, and it just goes on and on. And all that which is a wrong thing to do.
Let's say it was her that was doing that. How she'd be speaking it to his friend. He always suffocated me and never gave me any joy. And, I'm a sexually independent woman who has needs too. No, you're right, honey. You do need those needs. And you're only just expressing yourself. And you lived in a really oppressive lifestyle. So it depends on the way you phrase it and spin it.
Yes, it is.
And that's what I'm saying.
But you can still validate her concerns, let's say, and not...
It's funny how we just get Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. You can validate her concerns and give her the support without taking sides. That's what I'm saying. I mean...
It depends how you paint it.
We're talking really idealistically, we're talking superhumans here, man. Because the reality is, man...
I've
You
had
get
female
fucking
friends, not
passionate and,
not
you know,
mentioning
fuck
anyone,
that
but
bitch
they've
and
gone
fuck
on
that
about
cunt.
their ex-husbands, and I've just been like,
Care factor.
care fact, but also I've subtly hinted like I've gone, I don't know if I fucking believe what you're saying. Like, it just seems a bit too clear cut. When something's that clear cut, where the guy just seems like a pig,
Yeah, so what?
it's either that's true or they're not telling you something.
It could be both, though. I mean, she's probably a fucking psycho bitch, and he's probably a fucking cunt. Simple as that. I mean, you know, I don't think. I think when it comes to conflict in general, people miss a lot. It is two to tango. It's like saying that, well, you know, in World War II, all the Japanese were evil and we were fine.
But this is what my point about Hitler before, and this could be, if this ever gets edited out of context, this could be my greatest indictment of my own
Undoing.
sociopathic mindset.
Yeah.
But you got to understand, Hitler, although a lot of people were intimidated by the Gestapo and him, he would have been a hero to a lot of people in Germany, to some people.
Absolutely.
Which is why they got, I mean, did they get elected by force or by democratic vote?
Well, I think he did. It was by force, but then he had some kind of referendum and he got 90% of the vote or something from memory.
Could be intimidation though, but let's assume even a percentage of the population
There's a big
adored him.
population that supported him.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
You understand, he saw the Jew. Sorry, Jewish people.
The Jew. Man, that's
He saw Jewish people.
as inferior.
No. As
Well, it was a social.
yeah,
Darwinism.
but as a big plague or problem, causing problems, economic problems.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So what he did was said, they've oppressed us, they've done this. Now we're going to claim back Germany.
Yeah.
We're going to get rid of the oppressor
Mm-hmm.
and free people. So in the eyes of some people, he was a freedom fighter, right? Because that's saying one man's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist, right?
Correct.
Now, had they won that world war, history may have been completely written differently, where he committed genocide, but so did America. They've committed genocide, you know what I mean? All up, do you think America has killed more civilians than, in all of the military campaigns, than Hitler?
Wow, you'd have to go through the books and look at it. I mean, Vietnam, a lot of civilians were killed there, man. That was fucking
Iraq
brutal.
and stuff, it's high count. Cold War, Korean War, Iraq 1, Iraq 2. Where else have they fucking gone?
Afghanistan.
Yep.
South America, various countries over the years.
So when you win a war, you can write it how you want it. But at the end of the day, there is a yin and yang. There's an element of truth or an element of virtue to even Hitler's actions.
Definitely.
Right? Although you could probably make a strong moral, rational argument that what he did was wrong. Definitely. You could make a conclusive moral argument that what he did was wrong. In his head and the behaviour and the context of what he was experiencing, he could also be seen as a hero. Just as George Bush could be considered a hero for invading Iraq and taking out the supposed weapons of mass destruction, which turned out to be not true, and taking out a dictator. There's a lot of people that supported the Iraq, like Christopher Hitchens, supported them going in and eliminating Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of but you could spin that really
yeah. I mean,
badly as well. Like it's just
you can simplify all of it.
tyrant.
Yeah, you can simplify all of power struggles in general, and they are between two opposing forces that clash, and there's no way of saying in any absolute sense who's right and wrong.
I don't think Hitler was evil, man. I think that's the biggest injustice to it's the biggest injustice to rational psychology that you could commit to call.
Well, rational psychology doesn't believe in evil, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's an injustice to rational psychology and understanding of the human condition to call Hitler evil. What he was an over-passionate, radicalized person who took his ideology to the nth degree.
and created.
If you
blacks in the
honestly
process.
believe in something, and it's the same as the Islamists and it's the same as the religious extremists.
It is.
If you take your ideology to the nth degree, a lot of the time it's violence at the end of it. So what the fuck is the difference? You've got people going around blowing up churches or blowing up innocent people or committing terrorist attacks. It's the exact same thing. They're taking their ideology to the nth degree.
Yeah.
They're not evil people. They're just, I think they're convinced of what they're doing. Unless, of course, you can say they're doing it purely sadistically. But even if it was purely sadistically to get off on the pleasure of hurting other people, you can still be sympathetic to that because you can say, why are they feeling that way? Were they abused when they were younger? And what is it about their psychology where they get off on hurting other people?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as evil, man. There's just different conditions. There's different psychological conditioning.
So if we backtrack a second, like you think of Germany as a nation, right?
Yeah.
And you compare Germany to France, England, Holland,
Scotland,
Belgium. You know, these nations all had great, imperial histories. Germans never had any of that. So you could say that all they were doing is trying to fulfill their own legacy in their own way. And, Hitler did murder a lot of people. There's no doubt. And you could argue that his intentions weren't necessarily evil, but the acts were fundamentally evil. I mean, rounding up Jews and rounding up Slavs and whoever's fucking non-German and, just exterminating people is evil. It is evil. You can't deny that. But is it any more evil than what the English did with the Bengal famines and engineering famines?
That's
which
my
killed
point.
Scores of people.
And Cambodia and Genghis Khan.
Pol Pot. The list goes on.
Which major imperial grab of power,
Yeah.
imperial
Napoleon.
campaign haven't committed a religious or ethnic genocide?
Definitely.
We've done it. We did it to the Aboriginals. So we
Definitely
sit there
did
and
it quite
judge
well.
Hitler.
Yeah.
And fucking Captain Cook in the first settlement came over and just fucking annihilated him with
see,
fucking gunpowder.
That goes back to my point that when you pick
All women are
sides,
fucked, correct?
all people are fucked.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that when you pick sides in any way, in any arbitrary way, you're missing the point. And the point is that there's good and bad, so to speak, in every side. It really doesn't matter. And that was my original point about the Japanese. Yeah, the Japanese were considered this and that. But hang on a second. If you go back in history, the Japanese were basically forced to open up their doors by the Europeans. Yeah. They were murdered in droves and forced to trade, etc., etc. And then, 50, 60, 70 years later, they realised that, fuck, we've got a really strong people, we've got a strong culture, let's industrialise our nation and try to take over the world because they did it to us. So, yeah, case in point right there. These people were suppressed by the West.
The only really morally reprehensible thing, if there's such thing as morally reprehensible thing the Japs did really was torture the POWs. What else did they really do? Maybe get kids to fight?
Oh, look, they did do genocide and stuff, though.
Like against what?
Oh, against the Chinese and
Yeah.
all that.
So genocide, which is common as fuck. Yeah, like
It is common,
that's
yeah.
just run of your meal, low hanging fruit.
I'm
joking.
We're gonna get in trouble
Fucking
talking
watch
about
this federal
but,
police officer,
fuck,
right?
man.
Interpol, mate. Interpol's calling.
They're on to you.
They want you to come in for a
They're
job
on to you,
interview.
Not me. I'm squeaky clean.
Yeah, well, fuck it.
Fucking all women are fucked.
Yeah, so genocide's run of the mill, mate. But
It is.
even torturing POWs, you got to understand the Japanese are very binary. So they see it, and it comes from the whole samurai tradition. If you fall in combat, you got to commit harikari and kill yourself.
Yeah.
You don't get captured. You see what I mean?
Yeah, well,
That's what they used to do. So like
they are extreme.
Yeah. So they're binary like that. There's no in between. So
definitely.
when they see all these
Zero
weak
sum
cunt
game.
Australians and shit, and when I'm
Well.
talking from their perspective, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah.
I would never have go at a digger, right? I'll never be Pauline. Who was the person that disrespected Anzac? Oh, that black bitch. She got. He said that girl. She said something about the Anzacs, and everyone's like, "Fuck off." I don't know if she left Australia or something, or she said she was going to leave Australia. They said, "Oh, fuck off there." Yeah. Anyway, she said something offensive about Anzac tradition, and it was white male shit or something. Anyway, from the Japanese perspective, they saw it as very dishonourable and cowardice to get captured. So they used to torture them and shit, right?
Yeah, okay.
But from their perspective, they wouldn't get captured. They would fucking pull a grenade on themselves.
Yeah.
Or, commit hurikuri or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah,
or just
suicide.
fucking just running with a bayonet and get shot up. But
you see,
they're very
argue,
binary like that. They said, even in modern job culture, they're binary
Well,
like that. There's master, slave, and no in between.
Well, that's their version of...
like all Japanese
honor.
are autistic as fuck. Yeah.
They tend to be. No. The Japanese are lovely, lovely people. Even though they're carbon copies of, I don't know, some computer printout. But aren't we all? Anyway. Fucking hell, man. We're getting pretty rough here. Yeah, I mean... But I would argue that you've got more honour in staying alive.
Telstra would
because
sponsor
then you've
this,
got a chance to fight another day, you know. So, you know, just offing yourself on the basis of honour, I reckon it's a bit of a cop-out, man. Anyone can just fucking blow themselves up. Like,
no, but what I'm saying
deal.
that
got more balls getting caught. And
that
trying
tradition
to tough it
was
out.
set a long time ago with the samurai and shit. So when they can appreciate that the West doesn't do it like that. So when they capture them, they say, "You fucking dishonourable dog! You let yourself get captured," and then they just torture them like, something going in their head where they saw it binary like that. The Germans didn't do that. The Germans would salute. The Germans used to salute the American captains and shit, even in POW camps. Apparently,
Okay,
they'd like to say you're high-ranking officer. But fuck, if they're going to do that, they'll probably feed you shit in the Japanese camp.
Yeah, definitely.
They'll fuck you
That
up
is
the
what
ass and
happened.
hold you down, fuck him up the ass.
Oh God, no doubt it happened. Oh God. Fuck, human beings are grotesque.
What was the point I was trying?
Human beings are fucking grotesque. I mean, honestly, I do believe that we've all got the potential to do amazing things and to be really civilized and live, you know, aesthetically and, you know, appreciate, you know, having friends and, you know, beautiful social surroundings and whatnot. But geez, you know, I guess that's the other side of the binary. I don't know, man. Fuck, we're fucked as well. I mean, the evil shit that we do.
But the problem with the Jew... No, I'm joking.
The Jew?
Yeah,
the Jew. Oh, God. But well, let's talk about the Jews. I mean... now you've triggered me. No, I mean, the Jews... I mean, I've worked...
Man,
I don't think
man,
the
you
Jews
can get
are
away
bad.
banging. Be careful banging about the Jews. I've got a fucking drone coming through your window.
Oh, they'll take us out. No, but I mean, but the
My
Jews...
site's probably already on
There's a
to the
lot
top of this, man.
What's really interesting about
They were
Jewish
they were
people
loving
is
us criticising the Germans too. I got a bit pro-Hitler and they started fucking flagged. No.
They're worried. But what I find fascinating is that, did you know that Jews account for like a third of Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah. But that Nobel Peace Prize rigged, man. There's something weird going on with that because they give it out for fucking horse shit. They were going to give the Nobel Peace Prize to that fucking... They gave it to Obama. They gave it to Obama.
Weird, yeah.
And then they gave it to... they're going to give it to that
Yeah.
Gretel fucking autistic bitch who is actually on Asperger's. The Gretel.
Oh.
You know, the bitch, you have stolen my childhood. Rob me. How dare you rob my future of promises of eternal economic growth. You have I should not be here today. You have stolen my future. Touched my dreams. You know that bitch?
Yeah.
The young bitch.
Yeah,
They'll
dude,
think about
she's
giving
a
it to her.
psycho.
For what? She gets up on stage and rant. You're going to give someone a Nobel Peace Prize? Give the Nobel Peace Prize to some motherfucker that spent ages in their fucking shed, coming up and putting hard labour and an innovative idea into coming up with solving how to generate fucking water from shit.
Yeah.
Because that cunt sticks that in a community and it'd be far less violence. Give it to that. You don't give it to the fucking cunt that's being used as a political puppet.
No, well, but that's a problem. I mean, we in our society, I don't think that we appreciate. No, honestly, I don't think we appreciate. The engineers, the slow workers out there, the silent workers, scientists. The IT people. I know we glorify people like Zuckerberg and all that sort of shit, but it's all the people that are behind those guys, man. They sit there for fucking hours, slaving away over fucking screens, man, for hours. And, we just take it for granted like it's nothing. Oh, they're just doing the job. But really, man, fuck. They work hard, these people. And you're right, someone like this little bitch comes along.
You can't give a Nobel Peace Prize to someone that's just been chucked in front of the camera.
No.
With free flights probably paid for by parents
She's a
or
puppet.
some other
She's a
lefty
puppet
group.
Of what?
That's not who you give a Nobel Prize to. You don't give a Nobel Peace Prize to Obama. You give it to someone who's actually invested a great deal of time, sweat and blood into coming up with a solution.
Having said that,
same with the business
was
degree.
Jewish.
Yeah. What's that?
Einstein was Jewish.
Was he?
He sure was. Yeah. So was Sigmund Freud. The list goes on. There's heaps of them, man.
What's wrong with that? I'm not saying
well,
don't give Nobel Peace Prize to Jews.
The
When
thing-
did I
the
ever say
thing-
that?
No, definitely not. No, you didn't say that. You're just saying that Nobel Peace Prize is a bullshit. We just went on the.
No, I'm saying it's bullshit giving it to people that haven't put any blood, sweat, and labour into finding a solution.
Definitely. But anyway, I was just making commentary about the modern contribution that Jewish people have made to our society, which they have. I mean, but you're right. It is. It could very well be a part of it. I'm sure would be a political thing because, especially in America, where they dish out these awards, there is a
You shouldn't be giving any award to anyone that hasn't put in effort and sweat into anything.
Yeah. Well, if you go back to that, definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, what other awards goes out to people that haven't worked for something?
Yeah. ARIA awards.
Nah, those guys definitely. Like, are you going to give a ARIA? That's the Australian one, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're going to give that to Powderfinger. What, you don't think Powderfinger has spent a lot of time crafting their thing?
Yeah.
They're not, Powderfinger didn't just sit down on the couch and go, let's start a band and just write 5 fucking hit albums.
No,
they put time and effort into it. But then it's a joke to give it to that Gretel bitch or Obama.
Yeah. Well, he got the Nobel Peace Prize. Why would a politician... How can you give a politician the Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, these people, they deal in war on a daily basis.
Saying it's all corrupt. There's some sort of payment or politics going on there where we'll give it to this person to highlight for a political agenda.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude to the Jewish community, but the Jewish community has a lot of sway in America. It does. It really does. I mean, I've heard that there's certain Jewish holidays that they let the Congress in America has to have days off for them. There's that many Jewish people in the government over there and stuff. And look, I'm not talking about your average Jewish person because I've known a lot, and they're just normal people like anyone. We're talking about the elite side that probably resides in New York, and you could probably say that about Italian Americans or whatever, or even Anglo Americans and Catholics and all sorts of fucking pressure groups. Jeez, I'm really putting my foot in this, but anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that
this podcast gets assassinated.
Yeah.
So he ran about feminine 7 episodes. He fucking slightly to trash about the Jews, and it's like
the Jews.
Suddenly you just go missing.
Let's talk about the most powerful groups in our Western society: the Jews, the Catholics. My God. Anyway, this is not a gripe against anyone. Let's just make this very, very clear. It is, the average person wakes up every day, goes to work, and does their thing. However, the point I'm trying to make is that there is a real power issue in the Middle East, and the Jews are front and center in that. And I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong. I'm not saying what they're doing is right. but there is a lot of heat in that part of the world, you know. And the American government, which is an easy group to slag because everyone slags them, the American government has a genuine vested interest in supporting Israel and the state of Israel and all the issues that are associated with it. And, you know, they've got a vested interest with all the opposing forces there as well. I mean, you know, if they're all fighting each other, if the Israelis are fighting the Iranians, and et cetera, and, you know, the Egyptians are at bay and all that, and then, you know, all the Arabs hate the Jews, and it just goes on. Well, it's fertile ground for big business and corporations to go in there and take their piece. I mean, ultimately, there's a lot of value in those places. I think Israel is the biggest producer of diamonds, I think. I mean, these places have resources. You know, notwithstanding that, the obvious one is oil. Hello. And, you know, the Americans don't just support the Jews. The Jews support the Saudis. It just goes on and on. Money talks and bullshit walks, man. That's the way it goes. Anyway, I don't mean to offend anyone, but honestly, there's a lot of Jewish influence in America that's obvious. But there's a lot of Saudi influence too. It's not just the Jews. It's just, you know, it's a balance of power. I love that. I love the balance of power because everything's balanced somehow. What's interesting is Africa. Africa's got the most resources in the world, I reckon.
In fact, there aren't really that many tall people in Africa. Someone wants some.
Yeah, well, I mean, that you attribute that to just general nutrition, really. I mean, the more nutrition you have, the taller people are. Don't you think?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, generally speaking, there's some really short people in the world. Like we're not talking someone that's like 5'6" or 5'7" as a bloke in the Western world. He's considered sort of on the shorter side as opposed to someone that's 6 foot, which is considered average. And then, you know, 6'2" is tall. You don't even have that spectrum. I mean, there's parts of the world where everyone's like sort of, you know, 5'1", 5'2", and that's it.
But why do you think Asians are bad drivers?
I don't think they are bad drivers. That's your comment, man. You can have that one.
So what are things going on there?
I think
a couple theories to that, actually.
I've travelled in Asia, obviously, and some of the drivers that I saw, the way they drive in Vietnam is insane, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's fucking organised chaos. It's fucking nuts. But I think it's just a cultural thing. In Australia, we've got certain rules that we follow and a certain flow of traffic and all that. And it's very foreign to the way they drive over there, where it's just like a free-for-all sort of thing. And you know, things are accepted over there. And it's partly, I reckon, because of the overpopulation over there. Yeah. Like you've got to bend the rules because people won't get anywhere over there. And maybe we got to start driving like Asians more, because as our cities just get so overpopulated, which inevitably they will, you know, we should go through red lights and, you know, just cut people off to get from A to B to some extent within a courteous way, because they don't do it over there like they're not aggressive the way we are. What I find fascinating is why people, you know, in their daily life, they're like really nice to their family and their friends, and they, you know, they make their, they cut lunch for their kids and whatnot, and then they get behind a wheel and they become fucking menaces, man. You know, they reckon that as soon as you're behind a car, I reckon it's a bit of a safety barrier thing that people have. They feel that they're protected by some invisible force, and that allows them to behave.
Are you talking about road rage? Or?
Road rage, yeah.
Yeah, what's going on there, in my opinion, as a PhD in psychology and everything else.
Yeah, go on. I love it when you say that. What's going on there? Yeah.
Pretty huge dick. Yeah. That's why.
So what is going on?
That's why I caveated it with, in my opinion.
In my opinion, yeah. You did this time, but yeah. Yeah, no, go on.
Speculation.
Just
No,
messing with
what
you.
is going on here?
Yeah.
So
What do you
quite
think?
definitively. When you're behind a car, there's no immediate consequence, yeah,
Mhm.
because you can drive off and not choose to participate in conflict.
Yep.
But if you walk up to someone face to face, you got to be a bit more careful, because if you say the wrong thing or get aggressive, then there's a consequence that you can't run away from. I think. Well, that's what's going on there.
That's what I was alluding to. That there's that safety barrier. That you got the law and you got that hunk of metal that's around you. And when you ride a motorcycle, you feel a lot more vulnerable. So it is a bit more face to face, because anything that happens, it's going to hit you. You're going to feel it, because you're just there in amongst it all. But anyway, that's just a quirk of the roads of Australia. But yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree. It gives people this sense of security, the fact that they're behind that wheel, and it allows them, and but it makes them just so aggressively, so much more aggressive than it normally would be. It's just,
They can
regardless
afford
of
to
that,
be the. There's more leeway. There's more
but it's just such a disconnect of our psychology. It's yeah. So no matter how many laws and things we have, people are always going to be fuckwits, aren't they? That's the bottom line. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't get road rage. It's gonna be fucked.
You just ignore it, do you?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have guts to say to someone's face, then
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, but it's like it's kind of the pack mentality as well in a way, because if you go to the footy and you're abusing the opposition, well, you're in a pack, so you're not as vulnerable because you've got your group, and that's kind of like the hooliganism that you see in like soccer overseas.
the thing that's going on there is
Yes, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, people do get security in numbers, obviously, and perhaps driving is an extension of that in a way, and it's the whole idea of being right and wrong as well. Going back to what I was saying and what we were talking about with Hitler and whatnot, there is no true absolute right and wrong. There's no absolutes in this world. Everything's a little bit grey here and there, on the edges at least, and case in point about Hitler being a freedom fighter and a patriot, etc. So there's no absolutes, really. There's only absolutes in people's minds.
I just think calling him evil is very intellectually lazy.
I think so.
Evil isn't the right word, but you can write a book and the rise of evil, and you sell a lot of books with no political backlash. But if you wrote a book analysing the virtues of Hitler's political ideology, let's say you wrote a book like that, you'd maybe make more money, but there'd be a big political backlash, if not prosecution.
There's probably some skinner that's written something
So
like that.
they're doing what the journalists do, which is take the politically less risky side to make money.
Absolutely.
So,
well, the conversation could go like this. Well, all conflict has good and evil. Hitler being the most evil image in the Western world, perhaps he was, a little bit of both. So if you question that, then question the nature of conflict. And is it possible to have conflicts that aren't as severe and so extreme? And maybe there's ways of dealing with our differences in a different way. Maybe you can have that conversation through the fact of highlighting the fact that Hitler wasn't as an absolute evil, so to speak, individual, because no one is. I mean, if you're a completely evil person, if you genuinely a hating individual, well, how are you going to function in everyday life? You probably can't. I mean, everything you touch, you just want to fucking create hate and evil all the time. So he must have had some good to be able to exist and function, you know?
Not even a matter of good. Like, I don't even believe good exists. Like, if you don't believe evil exists, you can't really believe good exists either.
Okay, so you're saying that evil doesn't exist.
I'm saying it's a consequence of conditioning and environment. So you can make a very definitive statement that he was evil and he's this bad guy. That's being very unempathetic to his viewpoint and his take on
his endeavours,
society. Yeah. So if you're a psychologist or a therapist, your goal is to be as empathetic to understand that person's mindset. So what you wouldn't do is get Hitler in a therapy session and go, "Oh, you're evil, you're this, you're that, you're a bad person." You'd actually put intellectual effort into understanding his viewpoint. All right? Now that sounds fucked up, but that's what you'd be trying to do as a psychologist, wouldn't you?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's their job.
So when you start looking at it that way, then you start to not necessarily be sympathetic to his viewpoints, but you start to understand what makes him tick, to understand it better.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense. But just to get back a second, like, I mean, good and evil is...
I thought you were going to say...
No,
Yeah, I thought you were going to say...
Well,
It makes complete sense, but just to go back a second.
Didn't he destroy, like,
Are you
half
new?
the fucking earth?
Yeah, go ahead.
Probably should, man. Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, good and evil is such an important aspect of our psyche as people, you know. I mean,
There's no such thing, man.
To say, yeah, there isn't, but I think you have to strive for good in a way, even albeit with the knowledge that it doesn't purely.
Why do
and
people
truly
not strive for good? If
Well, because it
if
doesn't
striving
s-
for
it doesn't
good
serve
was
you.
the
I
silver
mean, do you
bullet,
wipe your ass after you have a shit?
yeah,
It's a
if
hygiene
striving
thing,
for
like,
good was the
that's a
silver
good thing.
bullet to being happy and fulfilled and making other people's lives happy and fulfilled, everyone would be good. So then, so how do you explain the people that aren't good?
Well, people aren't. People are a combination of the two. That's my point about Hitler. I mean, fundamentally, he did a lot of evil. I mean, you know, just using that word, you know, despite what we're discussing. I mean, he was responsible for an extermination of a big part of Europe, man. But he wasn't the only one. We fixated on him for some reason. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you've got to have some kind of moral compass.
Punchline there, but I stop myself.
Yeah. You should have. You got to have some kind of moral compass, though. You have to. But that doesn't mean that he didn't have that, though. No. You know, I mean, because he's painted because he was our enemy. We paint him as just evil, and I don't agree with that. But I don't necessarily agree with the idea that there is no good or evil. I think there is. I do think there kind of is. I don't think it's in the sense of like the Christian fairy tales that we copped growing up about, you know, Lucifer and fucking Satan and, you know, the angels and, you know, that's absolutes. I don't believe in that. You know. And that's why, I mean, when you think about things, all women. So, Dim, can your dick touch your asshole? So tell us about your top that you're wearing, man. You can see Dim's wearing quite a colourful top. Yeah. What's the story? Hey, there's lemonade there if you want it. Yeah, man, I'm a bit hungry too. That pasta that risotto that I had was good, but jeez, man. That's just like that's a child size portion, man.
All those whole chicks must have thought
Were they looking at us strangely?
well, they could just tell talking about something serious. They picked up like a little elements of feminism and shit, and they just were looking at us like something wrong with us.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe there is something wrong with us compared to a lot of people, but fuck, man. I don't want to be a normal person. You know? I'd rather be a fucking weirdo than just your run-of-the-mill whatever, Chad and Stacey. Or even your run-of-the-mill fucking autistic nerd out there that's just sitting behind a computer all day and just, you know, speaking in a certain way because they're just not emotionally in touch with anything, you know. There's a certain normality with that as well, I reckon.
What's that?
Or even just
What?
your nerdy types that they're just super nerds that just they're socially inept. There's a lot of guys out there like that. You know, there's not many people that there's not many guys that call up and like that conversation we're having, right? Which without delving into the subject matter, there's not many guys that would talk like that around in general. There really isn't. It's a bit of a taboo, really.
You could argue they're got more going on in their life where they don't have to talk about shit like that, which is what my point was about Leonardo DiCaprio. Like if we're at a stage where we're debating that and talking about that all the time, it's like that's the point I was trying to make.
Oh, was that the point you're trying to make?
Yeah, I'm saying it's a reflection of where you're at and the impact that feminism has. Because to be honest, man, it
really doesn't matter. You're right.
If you're Richard Branson or Leonardo DiCaprio or even someone less than that, let's say a professional AFL, what the fuck would you give a shit about feminism? Because the reality of it, you still got chicks throwing themselves at you regardless of what the fat feminists are saying about anything.
Yeah, and that makes sense, but
it's
yeah, fair enough. I still think it's an important conversation to have, though.
It's an important conversation. If you can, when you're battles, it's like you can't teach algebra to a fucking monkey. You can't teach children. You can't teach children high level advanced.
Dude, and you're talking about a
philosophical points.
A pathetic movement, right? That's pervasive in the left politics now. I mean,
But you're not.
Yeah, but hang on.
You're not gonna change the political sphere.
No,
having drunk conversations with feminists at pubs.
No, you're not.
Like, you really aren't. If you really want to change that, start a YouTube channel, start vlogging every day about feminism, and you convert a couple incels. You convert a couple of right wingers who are a bit enlightened over, and you will change. You will fuck all change it. Fuck all in terms of most of the left. Most of the left is so... And what did I say before? There's an incentive to them supporting feminism as well. When there's an incentive, you'll buy into it.
It's a weak argument.
Well, they don't want to piss off their girlfriends. You see what I'm saying? You're up against that type. You're up against that disingenuous male who's gonna go against you to get points with his girlfriend.
Well, you know what?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, you know what? We should just lay over... allow the court system to just fuck every bloke up.
No, it's not that. It's what Sun Tzu says, right?
Yeah.
Sun Tzu says, "He knows when he will win, and when he will lose, will always win."
Smart warrior, okay, and you're right.
So we've all
got a role to play, man. We've all got a role to play.
You're picking the battles that you think you're going to win and you lose. You should be only fighting in the battles that you're going to win. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's not about winning and losing all the time, though.
Yeah, because otherwise you make no ground. You can't be wasting your time arguing with bitches drunk.
I don't see it that way.
Indoctrinated simple cunts.
I'll tell you what I see. Okay, this is just me. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just don't agree with what the train of thought that you're...
What specifically about my train of thought do you disagree with?
I just think that...
No, you said you disagreed with it, so I just want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. So what do you disagree with?
Well, I think that there is a groundwork that can be made by having conversations with people in pubs or wherever, especially women that have got these ingrained thoughts and views that men are evil, speaking about evil, and, it's completely unfounded. There's no logic to it. There's nothing historically pertinent to it. So then how the fuck can it be an argument? And I break these people down so quickly.
In your head, you've broken them down. And logically, you've broken them down. But in their head, that's not what's happened.
Yeah, but
in their head, they've gone home and go, how much of a prick was that guy, Stacey? Yeah, he was a real arsehole. I mean, what was his problem? And then she'll go home and bitch to her male friend, and he'll be like, to get pussy points, he'll be like, yeah, he sounds like a real prick. And then she'll go tell everyone at university, and I'm saying, he sounds like an arsehole, honey. You should report it. Yeah, but that's like you need a reality check, George.
No, I don't agree.
I don't agree with how people's psychology works when they get indoctrinated into something.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, we're talking about a political movement. There's nothing of any major substance about it. I'm sorry, there really isn't. They might think it is, but honestly, man, we're not talking about people getting murdered. We're talking about a first world problem, okay? But it's a problem that people have that's real in everyday life. The courts favour females far too much, and ultimately, it's a real...
So you're intellectualising points that I've already... I can argue your points stronger than you can argue your points. Court system's biased. Women
Correct.
Are privileged.
Correct.
Men don't get listened to. Men get subjugated and put down. I can argue all your points, but that's not my point. My point is
why bother?
You can't... No, that's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying, then?
No, this is what I'm saying. You have to pick
what do you say?
Which contexts and battles you can win.
Yeah.
And a drunken, indoctrinated, dumb bitch who's 45, you're not going to convince that dumb bitch who's indoctrinated with her blood alcohol level of 0.5 with her friend there and her getting bitter and probably stressed out about her job, so she's just looking for a fight. You're not going to convince that girl of the merits of your way of politically viewing feminism. That's completely the wrong context and the wrong fight.
Yeah, that's fine, and I appreciate your point, and I've acknowledged your point. But that's your point. That's you. I'm different. I believe that you've got to have certain conversations with people, because if no one does it, it's never going to happen, man. And the point, the overarching point that I'm trying to make is there's a lot of blokes out there. Now, hang on, let me finish. That a lot of guys are really scared to speak their minds, and it's pathetic. So if every bloke just rolls over and allows these girls to talk about their fucking bullshit, because it is bullshit, there is no substance to it. Feminism has no substance in today's world. All right, it's like arguing communism in our liberal capitalist world, which obviously is a far better system. I mean, that conversation's been done and dusted. The Labor Party doesn't try to espouse communism on the community. There's a reason for that. Because it had its place 100 years ago. Okay? It's gone. Finished. We've evolved. Same thing with feminism. We've evolved. But for some reason, the left is obsessed with it. They're obsessed with it. And I just think it's fucking ridiculous. And I think
what
it's
important. What is my ultimate point?
Your ultimate point is don't bother putting energy into something and trying to win arguments. But I'm not trying to win an argument. I'm just trying to make a point. Because most guys, for whatever reason, don't want to make those points. Or maybe they can't articulate it, or they haven't thought about it too much. I'm just having a casual conversation with someone. I'm not putting that much effort into it. I'm just making certain key points.
You're trying to teach algebra to a drunk monkey.
Yeah, but we're not talking about algebra.
Yeah, but we are. I'm trying to say you're trying to teach algebra to not only a chimp, but a chimp that's blood alcohol level is 0.5.
Yeah, I don't think it's like that.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
I know that is the point you're making.
Who wins? Who knows when he was win, and he who knows when he was lose will always win. That's what I'm saying. You got to be fucking selective. You're not selective. You sit at a bar getting drunk, railing on these girls, and they're like,
I'm not railing on anyone.
Nah.
I'm just making a point.
Girls rationalise things emotionally, so they go, "How am I feeling? And then they'll turn to their friend, "How's this guy making me feel?" "Oh, he's making me feel funny. Oh, he's a creep. You're a misogynist. I don't agree with your point." They can't intellectually dissect and logically
I
go
don't agree
through and
with
process
that. I
what
think they can.
Oh, well, I disagree with you on that.
That's where we disagree then.
Yeah.
Maybe that's our pivotal point of disagreement.
And you could say what I'm saying is more sexist, but I'm not the guy.
Maybe it is.
I'm not the guy arguing with a girl at bar drunk. I'm the guy going, "Cool, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting. Cool, you want to go home and fuck? Cool.
Yeah, fine.
I'll fuck you.
You know,
And then she'll be like, "Do you want to date?" "No, I don't want to date." "Why is that?" "Oh, we have different political views." But have a good job going and finding the beta male that will subscribe to your views.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
And then who has the last laugh then?
Yeah.
You're not going to have the last laugh when security chucks you through the window because some girls got worked up.
That's another argument that of drinking and talking too much in general. I mean that's not just.
I think you've got a way higher chance of getting chucked out by security about engaging in that with a woman than talking to a guy about something else more. Like, I reckon you could talk to guys about a lot of shit before it escalates, but a chick who's a feminist, that's a hot potato. That's what I'm trying to say.
And then if we all turn around and not engage these girls and just try to point out certain points casually, which is what I do. I'm not attacking women. I'm just making a certain pivotal points. Okay. There is a difference between men and women. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I think there's a natural biological difference. And it's not just physical, it's mental as well. I'm not saying that anyone's stronger or better or whatever. That's all I'm trying to explain to these people. But they've got this obsession of equality of outcome. They harp on it like it's, if anything, any part of feminism that's a religion and a dogma, it is that equality of outcome. They've got this obsession with it. And
a lot of socialists have that viewpoint as well.
Yeah, well, because they're all disingenuous, or I don't know. They're out of touch. I've worked on construction sites. I've never seen a female bricklayer or concreter. Why is that? I think it's a fascinating point. There's this obsession with having female lawyers and female corporates.
Once again, you're intellectualizing points to me that I could argue to a higher degree than what you have, because I've been anti-feminism probably longer than you have. Like all your points, I could amplify 10 times.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're trying to convince me intellectually, even though I'm a bigger anti-feminist than you are.
Yeah, but
but I'm smart from the point of view that I know if a girl's drunk at a bar and she's been working all week, and she believes that, she's not going to have a bar of soap of some guy walking up to her drunk going, I think women don't think as deeply or think as much as what men do. She's just going to be like, her immediate chimp reaction is going to be, drunk chimp reaction is going to be, oh, this guy's a misogynist and just view you ugly, and it's just going to escalate from there. Yeah, that's not the forum. The forum to convince people is get a nice video, put a bit of money into a nice political campaign, start a YouTube channel, promote it on Facebook, and get your intellectual points across. Not like this is what I'm trying to get across, though, George. Like, I'm speaking passionately about this because it's the same thing as religion. I could blast every Mormon, every Jehovah's Witness, every Muslim in a fucking bar, intellectually undermining the scientific validity of the Bible or scientific validity of the Quran. I could go into all that shit. But
Yeah, but-
at the end of the day, why the fuck would I be that stupid? Because you got to know what battles you win and what battles you won't.
Yeah, but there's no point in doing that with religion because that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
there is, because you can change the world. If you made everyone an atheist, the world would probably be a better place. But I'm not.
I don't agree with that. Anyway, how would it be better if we're all atheists?
As in,
Is
there'd be
there
less
any
religious
Is there
conflict.
any evidence to that?
Well, there'd be less religious conflict, in my
Why
opinion.
would that stop conflict? I mean, the biggest conflicts that we had weren't religious
What-
based.
Let me answer your question with another question.
Can you dick?
No, you're saying there's no evidence. That how do you know the world wouldn't be a better place with feminism?
With feminism?
Yep.
So, what do you mean by that?
Well, you go to me. You just go to me. Where's the evidence for atheism being a better way of world structure? You know what I mean? How do you know feminism wouldn't be a better...
Well, there's no evidence as well for the feminism.
Exactly. So you're trying to say that to invalidate my point. Why can't we invalidate your point by saying there's no evidence to know that feminism couldn't be a better structure?
Well, sorry, you've trumped me there. Run it past me again.
So you said, where's the evidence to show that atheism would be a better world? Yeah.
There is no evidence because atheism has never existed in any society, really.
So where's your evidence to say that the world wouldn't be a better place with feminism?
Well, feminism, I would argue, has never really existed either, so there's no evidence behind it as well.
So if you're going to use that argument, I'll use that argument straight against your point.
So you're basically saying that there's no way of knowing because it's never been tried. Is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying my opinion is that the world would be a better place without religion, and you're saying there's no evidence of that, but there's no evidence to show that the world would be a better place without feminism. Maybe feminism is the greater moral virtue and would be better off with feminism.
Yeah, well, on that basis, but that's on a whim, really. In the same way it's on a whim, arguing...
You're passionate about removing feminism, as I am as well, but I'm also passionate about eliminating religion. But I don't go around and argue people drunk at a bar about religion.
I don't agree with that. I think religion comes from a genuinely good place, as a general rule. I don't have a problem
There'd be millions of people if they were watching this. If we had millions of subscribers, that would be writing, ranting now, disagreeing with you on that.
Yeah, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't have a problem with feminists arguing with me. And that's my point originally. Like, when I have a conversation with someone, I try to be as civil as I can. And, like, even though I was drunk that night speaking to that girl, I wasn't abusive. I wasn't being derogatory in any way. I was making certain valid points that were factual.
But it comes
and if
down...
she doesn't understand that, well, you know what?
It comes down to
Tough luck, man.
It comes down to the bet. It comes down to the relevant...
You don't agree, man, on this point.
No, because it comes down to the relevant benefit you get from it versus the relevant agitation you cause.
Well, agitation is required to some extent.
That's
I mean,
the exact same reason I don't argue about religion.
we're getting agitated with each other talking. I mean, that's life.
Yeah, it's a relevant benefit versus the relevant agitation. I know that I'm not going to... I don't go around trying to debunk feminism, most people. Some people I can pick up, they're willing to discuss it. The same as religion, but the same as a lot of things. Like, I don't even argue capitalism to a lot of people because they might not be learned on it or educated enough to understand all the pros and cons of capitalism and socialism. But I'm like that with everything. Like, there's so many things I don't, even with business, I don't. Some people I'll give my 2 cents worth on business. Other people, they'll have these weird views, limited viewpoints on business, and I'll not even bother because I can just work out that I have no idea what they're talking about. They've got no experience, so I let them think what they want to think. So I do that with a lot of stuff, even with music. Like, I hear people go on, they go, I'm going to start this band, I'm going to start that band, and then you go, oh, I bet you've never been in a band before. But I won't say that. I'll just know that they're naive about it. That's what I'm saying. Like, with and just no practical experience. So they've got no architecture to it or no way to navigate it because they haven't had any experience of what they're doing. So with these women, man, like, when they're drunk and they're that, it's like it's the worst battle you could possibly win. I don't think you're going to win that battle ever in a bar.
Yeah, but it's not about winning a battle, man. I don't think it is.
What are you achieving?
What I'm achieving is a point of view. I'm just presenting my point of view, and it's as simple as that. and they can have their point of view, and that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. You know, I think that it doesn't have a lot of merit, but that's just my view. I'm not saying that they can't have their view. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but I just don't think that there's any basis of truth in it, or any place.
But once again, it goes back to the religious thing. I don't think there's any base in believing God. So if we're going to use that argument, I should go and start religious arguments with people at bars drunk.
Yeah, but religion is a very deep thing, man.
But that's where we disagree. I think they're both as emotionally charged with each other.
Oh, well, they can be potentially. I mean, you can be emotionally charged about, the colour of your couch and kill someone over that, or I don't know.
That might be a bit of a stretch.
If the other guy smells too much and you want to kill him,
yeah,
you can think that as well.
That might be a bit of a stretch. But
well, how long is a piece of string? I mean, I think all I'm trying to say is that there is a difference. I mean, you're talking about cultural traditions that date back thousands of years. I don't think you can compare a political movement on the basis of giving...
You know what I think's going on? I'm going to be really honest, man. I think you're unempathetic to the emotional significance that feminism plays in a lot of girls' lives.
Well, I understand that it's a real emotion and it's a sensitivity.
But do you really understand it's a real emotion?
Of course I do.
They genuinely believe they're chimps trying to fly a plane drunk.
And it's like...
And they think if they don't pull up on that stick, they're going to crash.
Yeah,
and you're telling them to push down on that stick. And then you're saying, these logical points, push down on the stick and the plane's not going to crash. And you're wondering why they're not pushing down on the stick. Because they're drunk chimps on a fucking plane.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that, man. The way I see it is, if you've got the logic and... it's fucking weird, man, when you put it that way.
But that's what I'm saying, man.
I don't agree with you in that respect. I think that they've got the ability to think logically enough to work out that it is a bogus kind of movement. That's all I'm saying. In my view. That's all
about marketing before, and the thing is, like, they've been marketed this idea, and they're a victim to marketing. But you think you're going to convince these girls and change the world over a drunk conversation with this menopausal bitch?
I'm not trying to convince anyone. I've explained that to you already.
Just avoid it, man. At a pub, drunk.
And you're probably right. I mean, on a practical level, it's probably not the best thing to do. But
the most practical thing you can do is start pushing political campaigns that are really cleverly built to influence people, but your average
I'm not that politically inclined to do that.
Well, you're politically inclined enough to...
Well, I'm gonna make certain points, but I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm not trying to create a counterculture movement or whatever the fuck some of these cunts are doing. I don't care about that. I'm just making certain points. All I was making on that day was, why hasn't there been a female genius? I'm sure there's plenty of intelligent women out there.
I have the same debates with women, don't get me wrong, and I've probably said the same thing drunk.
Right.
But I can acknowledge that it's... once I'm sober, I'm thinking, that was really like a dead end with zero benefit to try and convince a chimp to write Shakespeare.
I think there is some benefit, and that's where we
I could spend all night drunk trying to convince my budgie to sing the national anthem, and maybe I do get it to sing the national anthem. Maybe I wake up in the morning disappointed. I'm like, this fucking budgie can't even get the first verse. And who is it? Is it shame on me or shame on the budgie? It's shame on me. I'm the dumb bastard that's tried to get the budgie to sing the national anthem. And that's what I'm saying. It's shame on you because you've tried to convince this dumb bitch who's indoctrinated as fuck, plus has a blood alcohol of 0.5 on a political view that goes against her interests. And it does go against her interests because in her interest is spreading the lie that women are subjugated and shit. And that's what I'm trying to get across. You think I'm intellectually disagreeing with you. I intellectually can argue your points harder than you ever could. If you plays devil advocates and you try and be a feminist, I'll shut you down completely
Yeah,
go to
fine.
town
But
intellectually.
you choose
But
not
that-
to
but that-
because you.
No,
I understand what you're saying.
I choose
do.
to be that most males can't even process it. They're that fucking dumb. I've
Yeah,
got
most
fucking
people
lefty friends that tell me off for being racist and having certain criticisms of women and stuff. So cool, you keep smoking the pot. That's what I say to them. I don't say to them, but that's what I'm thinking. You keep smoking the pot. You keep, man, see how far that gets you. You're going to be
Exactly.
on the dole smoking pot. No woman's going to ever call you up to see how you are. And when you go to commit suicide off the Westgate Bridge because you smoked too much pot, it's going to be me that gives you a call, not the woman. And then you're probably never going to say, "Oh, damn, you were right. No girl cares about you." That's what I'm saying. It's
Well, you know, I
and
completely
choose a
understand.
fuck. No, I'm joking.
I completely understand what you're saying. I guess, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it really doesn't matter. I mean, we're talking about fucking crap, man. I mean, who gives a fuck
Oh,
about
it's not crap.
It is crap on one level, you know, in the sense that, you know, we're talking to these randoms and just discussing fucking whatever.
I don't get
mean,
into politics with it, man. I avoid it. I keep it short and simple. Girls want to talk about hand cream, food, and
feminism.
nah. That should have been a red flag for you. The fact that that's come up means she's got some sort of education in that. She's passionate about it. She's the exactly wrong person you want to. That sort of girl.
I don't agree. I mean, if she's educated enough to think of feminism and to think that it's if she can rationalize something like that, then she can rationalize a different point of view. It probably just takes a little bit more talking. That's all. I do believe that. Maybe I'm idealistic and delusional. I don't know, man.
Who have you ever convinced to change their religion or change their political party?
I'm not trying to convince anyone. That's my point. I'm just trying to make my point and to make them understand that I've got a point. That's all.
If they don't walk away thinking, "Oh, he had some valid points," they're thinking away, "Oh, he was a chauvinist."
Well, if that's what they think, that's their view, man. You can't change someone's view. I don't care. I'm not looking to change anyone's view. But what I am doing is making a point that, you know, I'm not going to just roll over and allow someone to have these pathetic views and not say anything. You know, not when it comes to something as trivial as that, because it is relatively trivial, you know. And maybe they, I shouldn't say that because, you know, there are a lot of girls out there who feel that they've been hard done by the system. But you know what? Who hasn't been hard done by the system? You know?
Yeah.
Who the fuck hasn't? Doesn't matter who you are. We're all struggling against the system. So
I'd argue girls have more privileging. It's easier to be a girl, but
maybe they do. I don't really. I think it's irrelevant though.
My views on feminism are probably stronger than yours in the sense that I think, but
you're not going to sit there and fight these girls. You can't be fucked.
You got to qualify very carefully where they're at intellectually and spiritually. And what are they under the influence of? And what context? Who's sitting around? If all their lecturers from feminist studies are sitting around them from university, you're not going to win that. But maybe if you get them by themselves sober, you might be able to convince them. Saying it's the same things with a lot of.
But again, I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm just trying to make a point that there's alternatives, and there's ultimately what I'm trying to say is that there are differences, and you know you cannot. I'm not trying to convince them. I'm just trying to make certain points, certain pivotal points, and they can convince themselves if they want to. It really doesn't matter. I don't care. You know, but I think it's important that we have that discussion. I don't think you can ignore. You can't just let the left run rampant in our city.
I couldn't think of a worse context to have that discussion than drunk at a bar, man. Leave religion out, leave feminists out, leave politics out. Leave religion out. It's a bar, man. You got to be pumping as positive emotions as possible. Because if you start pumping negative emotions, they'll get amplified with the alcohol. It's as simple as that. That's the way I see it. And like when I drink, I try and pump as much positive emotions as possible when I'm out. Wow. And if it starts to go pear shaped, then it's like,
I think it's quite positive to have.
I'll drop the ball. If I start. Yeah, if I'm out and I start pumping negative emotions, I'll drop the ball.
I think it's quite positive to have conversations like that with people. So our version of I'm being a smarter. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. No, it's cool.
Go into drinking context with trying to pump negative emotion, man. With guys, it will go very pear-shaped. With girls, it will still go pear-shaped. Actually, with girls, you could argue it goes pear-shaped even quicker because they can get away with it being
Well, negative emotion in general is something that you've got to be very, very wary of. So, that's the problem. When you allow negativity to encompass your way of thinking, and that's just a snapshot. When you drink, because drinking amplifies the emotions, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So you can kind of you can think of it this way: like if you're negative all the time, despite drinking, so you've got a negative emotion that you're picking at in your head constantly. You do it for 1 day, 2, 3, 4. Let's say you do it for a whole week. By that week, if you measure, if there's a way of measuring your physical responses, your your brain waves, if you measured them, you would find that they'll be far worse than the first day, because it becomes an ingrained kind of way of thinking.
What's that?
Well, thinking negatively in general.
Yeah.
So you're touching on a point which I agree completely with and wholeheartedly with, but I think it is possible to be very upbeat and positive, have little snippets of, playing devil's advocate, here and there. Because, for instance, that night where I had that argument, that was just one little part of it. We talked to so many girls that night and had a laugh and shit. You were pashing that really fat chick that had the calves that were bigger than my thighs and all that. We did heaps of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, look, you got to be very.
I'm also
talking very wary of violence with alcohol. Alcohol really amplifies.
But I'm also talking
emotions,
about in the context of trying to pick up women. You want to be pumping positive emotions. You don't want to be,
definitely.
If you start pumping negative emotions, it
But
conveys a couple of different stuff. It makes them feel bad, which they don't want to feel, and it also comes across as there's something wrong with you as an alpha male that you're in that negative mindset.
Yeah, true.
You get judged. That's what I'm trying to get across.
You get judged harshly.
Yeah, and because I know Leonardo DiCaprio. So I'm using a reasoning process called absurdum reductiorum.
Absolutism. Absurdum reductum.
Reductio.
Rectum. The tapeworm in the rectum. Did you go to that place, that nightclub? You met the tapeworm?
Reducti.
The tapeworm was in the rectum. And you danced in the rectum.
Absurdum reductium, whatever the fuck
you were
it's
playing
called.
With the tapeworm that was in his rectum.
Yeah, exactly. So I ate a tapeworm out of Leonardo DiCaprio's ass. Yeah, what? Yeah, so you take Leonardo DiCaprio and then we'll go the other straw man on the other way, all right?
Yeah.
So Leonardo DiCaprio, he's not going to go in a bar and start pumping negative emotions into chicks. He's not even going to give a shit. And she could go, "Oh, you're an asshole, you fucking what do they call? Like, what's the derogatory term for Italians? Like spicks or whatever."
Specs.
And he's going to be like, "Cool, thanks." Let's talk to another chick.
Of course, because he's thinking. Yeah, but he's thinking.
But what's running through this bitch's head when this guy's getting in depth about feminism and getting passionate about
he's
it?
He's a loser.
Well, not a loser, but she's thinking.
He's a tosser. I don't know.
Why is this guy putting any energy into arguing with me? Because she's probably thinking she's ugly and thinking, why is this guy fucking wasting his time arguing with a nobody? Because Leonardo DiCaprio wouldn't sit there and argue with a fucking premenopausal bitch with.
Who cares though, man? Who cares? Who cares if I'm having a conversation like that? And that's what stops most people from speaking their mind. It's not, man. You gotta speak your mind.
It's not about speaking your mind. You speak your mind, but you got to be not invested in people like her who is a nobody, but not be invested in things that really someone like Leonardo DiCaprio factor, Leonardo DiCaprio phenomena.
Well, I don't put him up on a pedestal. He's successful.
or
in
you
his
take someone
career.
so we go a we won't mention him by name, but you know what I'm talking about. No.
Well,
Yeah. Someone like him would actually start arguing with a chicken shit about weird shit and technical points and stuff about AVG and virus protection and shit. He'd probably think, and what's going through their head is like, why the fuck is this cunt wasting their time arguing about that? Because I guarantee you, fucking Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio going on to the next chick. They're not even going to the next chick. They're just going and fucking talking to each other. Chicks are hitting them up.
yeah.
And
Tell us about your shirt, man. Your shoes are dirty.
so but that's what I'm trying to make it. I'm
Yeah,
trying
cool.
to say the point between extreme abundance, which is Leonardo DiCaprio. Wow. You know, and then
isn't external, man. It's a lot of levels, and I think there's more to life than fucking money and success. Obviously, I mean.
no, not that. I'm talking about like in a context of a bar. A bar is people trying to meet the opposite sex. Let's be real. People go out to meet the opposite sex, and Leonardo DiCaprio. A lot of girls are approaching him, and
Well,
he's not sitting there fucking talking about. Look, the problem with feminism is.
well, I never described feminism in any way with that person. But anyway, look, we're going round in circles to some extent. I go to a bar because I want to have a fight.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Well, I think that
I want to
reveals it
punch
all.
on, man.
That reveals it all.
I just want
If
to
the- if
punch
what you're
people
saying
in the
there is
face.
true-
I just want to punch people in the face.
Well, if you're being true, I think you're being sarcastic, but if that's true, that reveals a lot. And where you are on the Leonardo DiCaprio's scale is probably negative 1.50 then.
Well, lucky Leonardo DiCaprio's that on my scale. And, you know, the
Tag
man
Leonardo
that fights.
DiCaprio on this video might watch it and be like, yeah, no, you guys are right. You're right.
Right.
No, you guys are wrong. When I go to a bar, I fucking rip feminists as a fucking asshole.
Jesus.
I'm only referencing because I was listening to this professional pickup artist. And he's making the same point about Leonardo DiCaprio. It's like, you know, what guys project neediness and shit. And Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't give a shit, man. He walks in and it's like he's got just pussy being thrown at him.
Yeah.
You sort of understand what I'm saying, or?
I don't know, man. I think, yeah, picking up. I mean, speaking about picking up, I reckon the most success I've ever had is when I'm casual, when I'm not trying too hard. You know, you just be yourself. You're talking a bit of shit, and like, I do find people genuinely interesting, and
Yeah.
you know, I know you're referring to women as chimps, but I do find them interesting. I find women that are successful even more interesting because, you know, they do have certain struggles in the corporate world. You know, I do understand that. But then again, they've got a lot of simple situations because women can go up the corporate ladder in a way using their sexuality a lot more than blokes can. Obviously, that's a fact, man. You know, that aside, it is interesting when you meet girls that are like, you know, mathematicians and, you know, IT people, or they've travelled and, you know, done things on their own, because, yeah, it is a little bit different. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I find people in general quite interesting. I really do. And if you take away the mask that we all have and our attitude about, you know, like arguing with, you know, randoms and shit like what I do, for instance, or, you know, what other people do, try to pick up as many women as they can, not mentioning any names, but you know, you take away all that bullshit, and it is bullshit, on, you know, because who cares what you do, really? You strip away the layers and you get to the core of most people. They are quite interesting. Even the most boring people can be quite interesting.
Yeah.
You know, so I do find it interesting. And then when I go out and I've got that attitude, then I meet women. I tend to meet women like that. even though I'm a chauvinistic, anti-feminist cunt. So, man, if it can work for me, it can work for anyone. Put it that way. I think the problem I have, I'm 45. I'm getting old. I can't be fucked a lot of the time.
You're 45.
I'm 75. No,
I thought you were 42.
I'm 45.
I thought you were 42.
No, I just turned 45. Did you really?
Are you 42?
No, I'm 45.
Isn't Johnny 2.0 like 45? You're 42?
No, he's 48.
You're 45, are you?
You got the math right.
45? 45!
45. Yeah. Did you honestly?
I'm confusing with Johnny 1.0. He's 42.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of the time I can't be fucked. You know, it gets to a certain point in the evening, man. I just want to get home, man, like really fast. You know,
Well, you got to ask yourself, what would Leo do in that? No,
oh well, Leo doesn't have to go anywhere, man. He just throws
Leo
parties
doesn't
in his
have to
own
do fucking
house.
anything, man. Leo, like when I was saying about before, Smirnoff plays celebrities. The nightclubs probably pay Leo to just go in there and fuck.
Yeah, fucking
What
hell.
the fuck would Leo? Leo wouldn't give a shit, man. Leo would just walk in, drink a couple of beers, talk to Brad Pitt, and just be like, "Oh, some chick would be harassing me." I was like, "Wait a second, I'm just having an interesting conversation."
Definitely.
You imagine how many PMs that cunt would get through Instagram and shit.
But here's the thing, though, Adem. If you've got everything on a silver platter, what would you choose? What would you want more than anything? You know, you'd want to be in a situation where you can't get everything that you want.
Yeah,
at some stage.
I think it's just like.
And so then you got to ask yourself, where would you be if you had to make that choice? Well, you'd probably end up the way we are anyway, on a fucking dirty couch, bachelors, rundown house, talking to these prehistoric microphones. Would you call them that? And, you know, discussing the difficulties of everyday life, being a man, dealing with feminism in our culture.
I think Leo gives a fucking two hoots about fucking feminism.
No,
Unless, of course,
It doesn't.
he gets sued, accused of sexual assault, and like he's getting being sued and losing a lot of money, then maybe it's a different thing. But
Yeah, well, I suppose that's where the risk in his life lies. Every cunt would want a piece of him, wouldn't he? Wouldn't they?
that cunt would be getting so many PMs, mate. It'd be like, well, I mean, the options that guy would have, mate, it'd be inconceivable compared to your average
But
mate.
here's the thing: if you've got wealth,
Yeah.
right, you could be the ugliest.
Wealth is fuck.
If you got a lot of wealth, you got enough money. All you need to do is go to a nightclub, shout a few drinks. You can get many girls.
Celebrity status as well, because he's.
Yeah, but here.
But yeah, that's.
Hey, come on, cowboy. Oh, that's enough. More.
Can't really get up.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, jeez, we all want to be Leonardo DiCaprio. Really, I mean, that kind of stardom.
No, I just made that point because like you listen to professional pickup artists, and like he was basically talking about how yeah, the difference in mindset with abundance and shit, and most people are on the complete opposite of that, man. They're in such scarcity males where they project that. That's what I'm saying. The worst emotion or attitude you can project towards women is neediness. That turns them off, man, because they immediately pick up your low abundance. It turns them off massively, man. That's the worst you could do.
It's that.
That's why when you
also
try
if
and
you-
chase a girl, they'll get turned off. I mean,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
so you can take a little bit of a
that
piece
goes
out.
both ways, though. I mean, if a girl's needy, I don't like her.
Yeah, but it's probably less of a turn off for a guy than it is for
Yeah,
because non-neediness is a masculine trait. A guy that's in a guy that's the yeah,
I know
It's
what
hard to
you're saying.
explain, but
No, I know what you're saying. It's part of the persona that you got to project in a way. Um, but what I'm trying to say is that every male, I mean, unless you got limbs that aren't working or something, or your dick doesn't work.
yeah.
Short of that, well, we've all got abundance, and that's what I was trying to say about the Leonardo DiCaprio analogy. It's like, well, at some point in time, you're gonna ask for having a situation where you got to struggle, because without a struggle, well, what are you? You're just a spoiled brat.
You don't know if he struggled when he grew up. He could come from a middle class family. Most
I'm
of those
sure he
guys have.
did. I'm sure he did. I
You
think
don't
he
know
did.
how much
yeah.
effort he's put into it.
We're talking about everyday life now. I mean, you can't. It doesn't matter where you came from. If you've got everything on tap, you're gonna want more, and wanting more, I think ultimately will be.
We're not talking about whether Leonardo DiCaprio is happy or not. That's a separate question. I'm talking about the behaviour and the interaction with women, difference between someone that's in scarcity and someone that's in abundance. And someone that's in abundance isn't really, I don't think, arguing about chicks.
Yeah, but if you've got abundance in general, not about chicks or anything like that. Specific. If you've got abundance, well, there's a difference between abundance and having everything that you want. Well, I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about getting to a point where you've got almost everything that you need. We're kind of like that anyway, man. I mean, we've got food on tap. We've got water, clean water. We've got shelter. We've got the fundamentals down pat. We can pretty much go out and fucking find chicks if we want to and all that. But again, I mean, you're just going to fuck 1,000 chicks and that's it? I mean, how satisfying is that really? At some point, you're going to want to play some game with a girl, some little emotional roller coaster with her. Well, you don't know if she likes you. I mean, how tantalizing is that when you're chasing a girl and she doesn't know if you like her, and there's this little game that you play, and then, a month later, you're like, oh, well, actually, you know what? I think you're really cool, and she thinks you're cool, and you connect. Isn't that more satisfying than just grabbing any old chick, giving her some money, and just...
Yeah, but that wasn't the point I was making anyway. The point I was making is the conversation you have at the bar with what Leonardo DiCaprio is different from, what some other people on the other end of the spectrum is doing. I mean, I'm not talking about what if he's more fulfilled. I would suspect he is more fulfilled, only because when you got that level of abundance financially and sexually and shit, it's like, I think there's probably less occupation on deficiency and worrying about shit. It's probably more just, I can take this, I can take that, and if I want to concentrate on something else like doing art, I can, because I can always come back to the abundance. So if I suspect, I'd say Leonardo DiCaprio has probably got a higher quality of life than most of us. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's miserable.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. But
Kurt Cobain probably not, because he had a fucking heroin addiction. But
yeah, no, I agree. But I'm just making a point about, life
all
in
women
general.
are fuck.
That you want to abundance doesn't give you everything. That's all I was saying. But I understand what your point. Yeah, definitely.
Basically, my dick could reach my ass. I was go fuck myself.
Well, there's always that. Oh, motherfucker. You know what's really disturbing? I've been drinking for a long time, right? Probably 30 years. And when I drink now, I actually feel, even if I've had a few, I actually feel like I'm just going into a different state of sobriety. In the sense, not sobriety, like I don't feel drunk anymore. I feel that I'm just normal. But I feel normal anyway when I'm not drunk, obviously, in everyday life. But when I drink, I just feel like it's just another state of the normal. If that makes sense. It's not good.
Like you can intellectually process it easier, so it's like
Yeah,
if you're
perhaps that's a part of it. Yeah, I don't have the drinking issues I used to have when I was younger. I used to get drunk and get spastic and not know what the fuck's going on. I don't really get like that anymore.
yeah, I'm sort of the same.
Is that a statement on our? Is that the pathway to alcoholism?
Well, see, the thing is with Leonardo DiCaprio. You've got Leonardo DiCaprio, then the normal drinkers, and
Oh, he could drink a lot. He could drink like four Smirnoff's bottles on his own, like in half
it's just
an hour.
funny listening to this fucking professional pickup artist. Like every 5 seconds, he's referencing Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's like, "See, the thing is, so this beater would do it this way, but do you think Leonardo DiCaprio would do that?"
Well, would
You just get referencing how Leonardo DiCaprio wouldn't do it that way.
It's a good benchmark, though. It really is. I mean, what's the difference between Leonardo DiCaprio in your own mind?
Like it's like getting into a club is saying, and all these guys try saying, he's like, but Leonardo DiCaprio is like, do you think Leonardo DiCaprio has any problem getting in the club? It's like you just walk straight in.
Yeah, but that's where his analogy breaks down, though, because a lot of guys get knocked back, don't they?
Yeah, I know, but it was like just funny, like listening to the contrast, between the two.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like I was saying before, like if you
If you have sex,
you buy Smirnoff, at some point Smirnoff will pay you to drink
definitely.
it. If you're Mike Tyson, the fucking Coke was fucking. It's like these fucking idiots at UFC that try and pretend they're drinking the Monster Energy drink, even though they don't drink it. It's like a sponsorship.
Yeah, why not?
They're getting paid to make it look like they're drinking it. They don't even drink it. They don't even drink it. They just hold it.
Drink that shit, man.
It's fucking disgusting. They don't drink it.
No, it's not good for you. You're probably better off drinking beer. Honestly, I'd argue that beer is probably healthier for you than that crap. But yeah.
So you think about this top, right? See, deer's a colour.
I reckon that top you could really pick up a lot of chicks with that top,
See,
man.
deers are colourblind, so they can't see the blue, but the hunters can see the blue. So it's this weird paradox where a human won't blow your face off with a shotgun, hopefully, because they can see the blue, but a deer will think this is a tree. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I do now. But
But
do you reckon that you could? Okay. So you're hunting deer. Do you reckon you can hunt down women with that top?
I reckon they'll think I'm a Mardi Gras coming, mate. Unless, of course, it was
No, they're
Leonardo
picking up
DiCaprio
blokes.
wearing it, and then it was a very different story.
Leonardo. He'd make that into a fashion item, man, overnight. That is a funny looking top. Sorry, man. All jokes
It's
aside.
extra large. It's too
Actually,
big
it
for
is
me.
a joke.
Do you want it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Have you got more colours or different ones? They only come in one colour?
It's actually a deer hunting top.
Yeah, I know
They
it is. I
can't
know
see
it is.
colour,
I'm just
so
messing with
that
you.
just looks like a tree. Because this would look green, so it just look like... It would look like this if it was green.
I don't get it.
it's
What do you
better.
mean? Like, there's
So
branches.
Look at that. If deer's colourblind, that would just look black, the orange, right?
Yeah, right.
So this is... You call that edge camouflage. Edge camouflage is where... that's an edge, right?
Yeah.
Because it can't see the colour. It's just... all it will see was this shit. So that won't stand out against the rest of the green behind you, the trees.
Oh, so
Do
it
you
thinks
get
it's just a bunch of twigs.
Yeah, yeah. But to a human,
Yeah.
if they turn around to blow a shotgun, they'll go, oh, there's blue there. Maybe I shouldn't blow the shotgun.
Yeah, so they don't
So if
shoot
they're
you.
drunk and redneck, they would just blow a shotgun.
Unless you've got a death wish, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah, but, you see a lot of hunters that wear the normal camouflage stuff, though.
But they wear, in America, they wear like an orange band or something.
Oh, okay.
Some say
yeah.
like this is probably a better insurance policy if you're hunting deer because the deer can't see it apparently, but that they will see. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All they'll see is the see this shit will look like twigs.
Yeah, No, that
They
makes
won't
sense
see
now.
blue. These
Yeah.
won't stand out against green, but to a human eye, because we can see in colour, some eagles and shit can see in colour. I don't know if chimps can, but like,
You don't know. About
see,
that.
so Leonardo DiCaprio, so yeah, if you,
He's actually colourblind. I've heard. I read that somewhere. No, I don't know that.
so yeah, if you're a hunter, a human, you won't be able to see. Well, you will see this, but a deer won't.
Yeah, okay.
You get what I'm saying?
I do.
Oh, yeah, do you want to
get that.
repeat it? Well, can you repeat back?
Yeah,
to me? Just
repeat
make
it like 3 times, man. Like
so-
5 times.
What? Yeah, I'll do it in Spanish as well. Cualquiera soseña caspacia ralientose varrepotele. Malahe,
Do it in Thai. Do it in Thai.
Malahe, manoha, laloye. Yeah, so that looks odd to us. That stands out, but to a deer, that like if I stood in a bush with that,
A deer can't see that
A deer
colour,
wouldn't be able
yeah.
to see
No,
that.
I
They just
understand.
see all these twigs and shit and just be
They've
indistinguishable.
got a limited spectrum of
Colour,
see,
but they
yeah.
can they're still edge camouflage.
Yeah.
That's what there's a lot of animals that
come in
use
different
edge
colours, though?
camouflage, like cheetahs. There's a lot of animals that use edge camouflage where their colour stands out, but the edge of the patterns
Yeah.
camouflage them. So if the animal could see colour, they'd stand out because they can't. The jagged lines.
Yeah.
They
Just,
can't.
that's all they see. Yeah. It's kind of
Yeah.
like
Well, I can show you actually one day.
Like
I'll go black and
Predator.
I'll film me standing next to a tree, and we'll turn it black and white.
Yeah,
on the
I
camera, and
understand,
you'll be able
yeah.
to see what I'm saying.
But it's kind of like in the movie Predator. Like
Yeah.
that the Predator, he can't really see colours vividly like we do. When he takes his helmet off and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why he's got to rely on that heat sensing stuff to be able to see the humans and the blood and shit. And
What he does, he eventually covers himself in mud because the predator can't see the heat through the mud.
that's right. Yep.
But I don't know if that actually works because, like, a lot of military use thermal imaging. Like, maybe you can cover yourself in mud. Maybe that covers it up. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
There must be something else.
Covering yourself
The
in
thing is,
mud,
you
it
get
sounds,
Leonardo DiCaprio.
It sounds pretty weird, man.
Huh?
Covering yourself in mud, it sounds pretty weird.
Yeah, I don't think that would stop the heat.
You don't reckon?
No.
I sure reckon that's a bit of a fallacy in the movie, you know?
Oh, I don't think that much of mud would stop the heat. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
okay. Yeah,
Like
that's a fair
thermal
point,
imaging
yeah.
is picking up on heat,
Well,
so
the
it's probably picking up radiation of the heat.
Yeah,
and it's
true.
effective. Like at night, it's almost better than night vision. Like if you got thermal imaging goggles, you'll be able to see anything with heat.
Yeah.
Like I've seen some ones online you can buy for like $7,000,
Fuck.
and
Yeah.
it's like a little thing. You'll be able to see rabbits anywhere, anything that's warm blooded. It will stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
But I don't think just covering that in mud would stop the.
Well, because the mud will get warm, wouldn't it? It'll start.
Yeah, I don't think that
permeate
would
through,
stop
yeah.
it. What would stop it is something a bit thicker. But
Okay.
yeah.
Never thought of Predator to that level, but yeah. I just love that handshake that they do. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
With the other guy. Yeah.
The black guy, yeah. Fucking big boys, man. But they never did steroids, those guys, did they?
Nah. Steroids. Like in the golden era of bodybuilding, they never touched steroids.
No.
It's all natural, man. Just like eggs and doing compound
That's how
exercises
it
with
is
little
sometimes.
dumbbells, like 5 kilogram dumbbells. If you do 5 kilogram dumbbells enough without steroids, you get that big.
You probably would, but you'd get pretty injured eventually. Well, no, you would. I mean, if you did like 1,000 reps, maybe. No, I do believe it.
Like, I'll show you. We'll film it in the camera.
A bit
We'll
more,
turn it black and white, and you won't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, no, I
It'll just
believe
look
you. I
like
completely believe you. I just think we should take it out and try to pick up chicks with it.
realistically, you do that with pink. It'd be the same thing. But then again, I don't think all species of deer are colourblind anyway. So some deer could probably.
I mean, speaking.
Eagles. The thing about eagles is, man, some eagles can.
Let's see what.
Apparently, some eagles can see colour. So, like,
Oh,
to an
really?
eagle, I'd look like I was hitting Mardi Gras. The eagle would be like, no son of mine is going to be a faggot. The eagle would not.
Either that or he's thinking that's dinner, man. That's a big chunk of dirt.
That's ice cream for fucking kids. That's ice cream for freaks.
Ice cream for freaks. Speaking of colourblind, I've got a lot of mates that are colourblind. You're not colourblind, are you? You colourblind?
I could be to some percentage, but
I think they reckon that all blokes are a little bit colourblind.
yeah.
We've got less receptors for red, I think it is.
Who knows? That could be a evolutionary advantage. Maybe that's why.
Well, my theory is that the reason why women don't have that issue is because women back in the day would have to pick berries and do all the foraging and all that.
Yeah.
And they had to have precise colour.
You might be right, but also further to that, it could be that it gives guys more contrast with certain other colours to see certain things.
Yeah.
So maybe having that slight colour blindness gives contrast, which maybe means why some animals can't see colour. Maybe you know what I'm saying? Like, 'cause sometimes you watch old movies with black and white, it gives weird contrast.
Yeah, true. So it gives you that added advantage if you're hunting.
Yeah.
At distance. Yeah.
Who knows?
Could be. Who knows? And there's a lot of redundant things that we have. At some point in time, human beings don't really need to have bodies. We'll probably evolve into formless entities. Maybe. What do you think about that? Do you reckon that it's potential that we'll, the uploading people, the people that think that you can upload your consciousness?
What do you call it? Like a cyborg or like a
not even
transhuman? They say.
Yeah. I haven't heard that term, but yeah, that makes sense. The uploaders, I call them.
Yeah, I think where that technology offers, where a computer can think as intuitively as a human, I think that's a good minimum 60 years off.
Man, you're being generous, I reckon.
Only because I look at the difference between an Asian and non-Asian, and I think, what's the gap there? What's the gap there? And I think then I go, okay, so if there's that significant gap between humans and Asians have had that long to fucking evolve, where's the AI? The AI is only way less than an Aboriginal. Like way less.
Man,
way less.
You get
an Aboriginal.
Heavy shit.
An Aboriginal was like fucking Aristotle compared to.
Ooh, Nelly. Now we're getting there.
Like Aristotle compared to.
Okay, I didn't say anything. It's all him. No, but I mean, I don't know. Did you?
You see what I'm saying, though? Like,
What are you saying?
I'm saying if Aristotle was where Aristotle was.
If Aristotle was where Aristotle was, yeah.
He was the smartest, like he was a deep thinker.
He was a deep thinker, let's say, yeah.
If an Aboriginal is here even a speck of what Aristotle was, how could we think that AI is even close to where the highest things are? Like you can plan like an AI, the best AI in the world.
Yeah.
Dolphins.
Yep.
That's not getting close, but I don't think we're even close to an Aboriginal.
Oh man, I'm not touching that one, dude.
And like,
Ain't touching that one, dude.
like but yeah, pretty much right. So yeah,
So what
at
you
least
saying?
50 years, if not more.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't.
I just do you see any literature from Aboriginals coming close to Aristotle?
You know, I don't see any of the that secret diary that you've got or anyone has, with the ability for even the dumbest kid at my school to come anywhere close to that. You know, where I grew up, let's say. So yeah, you're right. The gap is pretty wide. But having said that, there is an exponential curve there. So, do you reckon that? I've got a theory though, man. My theory is that computers will plateau at some stage.
We'll get way more powerful. I think we'll get more powerful eventually.
But
Unless there's
I think there's physical
fundamentally
parameters that will hamper computers ever getting to the
what it could be.
theoretical
What it could be is
amazing places that we think.
even that just through trial and error it could get really good. That's what Elon Musk thinks anyway, that it's eventually going to get way more powerful just through natural selection. Because you could run a natural selection system with AI where you run 1,000 different AI generators and then you select the most powerful ones, and that's natural.
Yeah, but
So you could run natural selection at a pace way higher than
the human natural
evolution.
evolution and natural selection. Yeah, and I understand all those theories, but don't they say that the biggest hindrance to all these systems is heat? And you need like massive cooling systems to keep everything stable.
You could run a natural selection process. You could just run them all and see which ones are generating the least heat and just eliminate them. Like, I think you can do it.
But there is a physical aspect to all of it. Ultimately, it's all zeros and ones, man. So heat, it's friction. Heat is resistance. It's just
If you're saying fundamentally heat is the limiting factor, maybe you're right, but maybe you're wrong. Maybe you set up some natural selection process and you eliminate the semiconductors or whatever the process is that's generating new heat, and you're trying different concepts.
well, yeah. I mean, they talk. Yeah, what I've heard is that semiconductors will become redundant. So yeah,
Yeah, because
it's based on light systems. Like
yeah. But you really have to work out why I mean, Aristotle could be bullshit. Maybe Aristotle never existed and faked history, and it was just like a recent writer that came up with Aristotle thoughts on shit.
Yeah, well,
but if it's true, I mean, Aboriginals have not come close.
well, forget Aristotle.
Nah, no.
What about a Dim and George on this podcast?
But I'm saying, like,
seriously, no, break it down. Come on, do it. Follow it through. What is the difference between a Dim and George right here compared to Aboriginals?
I could probably quite definitively.
Yeah. Well, come on, do it.
And it could be a difference in education. So I'll prefix it with that.
So what you're trying to say is the gap between a Dim.
I'm just
George
saying, like, the literature that you get, and you listen to some like the Plato, Aristotle, Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius. That's interesting.
And then
maybe
he's talking about Aboriginals talking about fucking fish in the sky and how serpents made Uluru and shit. And there's a big gap there.
well, you You can't really argue that there isn't, man. Really. So yeah, so the gap between us as our most intelligent beings that have existed, let's say, to computer systems, it's pretty big in comparison.
There's
to
an intuitive thing going on there where in the 90s, when the first computers came out in the 60s and the 70s or whatever, they were so primitive. It was just processing ones and zeros and coming up with basic number crunching, like a very quick calculator. Right now, you take computers now, and they're doing 3D graphic realms that looks spectacular, almost like real life. You say, "Fuck, that's a huge jump,"
as well.
And that's a massive jump. But even you take computer games, like some of them are like Far Cry and Total War and stuff. The graphics is just crazy to the point of it almost looks like reality.
Real, yeah.
That processing power that you can find in a smartphone, will shit all over a Sega Master System. The processing power in a Sega Master System doesn't come close to the processing power in that phone. That phone can run a computer game that's like 20 times more complex than Alex the Kid off Sega Master System.
Yeah.
Right?
Or Black Belt.
Yeah. So you got that, all right? And then you go, okay, so that's a rapid movement in 20 years. But even in 50 years, I don't think it's going to be quite up there with... It will make really quick calculations on logical stuff. Not even logical stuff, on mathematical stuff. Yeah. But it won't be up there with the Richard Dawkins. It won't be up there thinking deeply about Aristotle. But you give it another 100 years, maybe it gets there to the point where it's like a deep philosopher.
Is there a physical plateau that it may reach? And maybe the technology that we're discussing is something completely different.
Yeah, maybe it invents something revolutionary, but
yeah, I reckon it's going to be something.
By that stage, we're all fucking gone anyway, because it's like if a computer can out process it like us that bad, it's like, what's the point? We don't need to be the dominant. We don't need to be the dominant species forever, because ultimately Leonardo DiCaprio and Leonardo.
ultimately, what I'm saying is computers are ones and zeros still.
Yeah,
it's just clock speed and fancier, more complex ways of creating the clock speed, and but it. Look, I don't know.
Oh, it's not just clock speed though. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's not just clock speed now.
It's the way humans think are doing
Leonardo
weird
DiCaprio, is it?
That the same way, like when your two hemispheres being divided, and it could be just clock speed. It's some sort of integration, some sort of a lot of abnormalities going on there that are calculating things in a very non-binary way. It's calculating things in a very abstract way.
Well, computers are doing that now.
No. Human brains. That's why human.
Human brain does.
That's why computers will take a really long while before they.
Yeah, because they're based on ones and zeros still. It's just clock speed. So they're always going to have a limitation.
That's not the way human brains think. There's some sort of weird integration there where it's Yeah.
I get the impression that they're going the long way round with everything. Computers. And if someone can work out systems that aren't computing, that are more intuitive, and recreate it physically somehow, I think it'll speed up the process of technology in general. I think there's something beyond ones and zeros. But I don't know, man. I'm just talking out of my fucking ass anyway. I'm just wondering if there is a plateau that will happen. That's all. I don't know.
Yeah, it might plateau, but then it might jump. It might work out how to invent a new level. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So actually invent it for itself, sort of thing. Yeah. Skylab.
Or invent a new technology. If it gets that intelligent, it might invent a new technology.
Yeah, maybe.
But I just know
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, Leonardo DiCaprio, nah. Aristotle.
Did you have sex with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Probably not, but I'll listen to Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio probably has some good insights, but Aristotle, like, you got the Aboriginal.
I like how you refer to people. That's a real, like, woggy sort of attitude. It's like the
Jew,
the Assyrian Jew, and you're referring to the actual person. It's kind of funny, man. It's it's funny. Because we just don't do that. We refer to everyone as individuals, pretty much. Yeah. Oh, it's a funny world. Yeah. I don't think there's sarcasm in what you're saying, man. I think that what you're
an element.
I reckon that everything you're talking about is just completely from the heart.
There are certain sarcasms, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, come on, man. Don't sell yourself short, man. You're better than that.
There are
I'm G'ing you up.
But, like, the point about Aristotle and Aboriginals, that was genuine. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't find any Aboriginal fucking Platos.
Well, yeah, you're not going to get anyone to that level. It's just not going to happen. There's cultural limitations. So you could argue that the reason why we're not more advanced than what we should be is because it's purely cultural. We're too busy slumming in the
definitely
reality
with
of our existence in this fucking dimension or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I mean, and you can draw different dimensions between someone like Plato, for instance, and Aboriginals. You could break it down to dimensions, I suppose, with complexity, thinking and existence. And we're not like Plato, obviously. Or maybe you are, but I'm definitely beyond Plato. But the point is that I think human thinking will transcend a lot of things in some way, and people like, let's say, Plato, or even probably maybe Jesus or whoever, that thought beyond the realm of the slum that they came from.
I think Jesus was as big as pimp as, say, like Nietzsche or Plato or like Aristotle. Though, like Jesus's points were a lot more fundamental. But that could be how old it is. Maybe they didn't translate his teachings that much. But his points are a lot more fundamental. But they're not as insightful as all of the older philosophers. Certainly, just trying to think of who a really insightful philosopher was.
I don't know the classics that well, to be honest. I mean, I know a bit of Nietzsche and all that.
Like they reckon what you're saying, like Jung. What's his name? Jung.
Carl Jung, yeah.
Yeah, they reckon
he was brilliant. Yeah.
And I'd say Leo from Actualize.org is like giving some pretty big insights.
Yeah, he's pushing the realm. But to get to that level,
and obviously George W. Bush Jr.
Well, without a doubt. Hey, having said that, man, that guy, if you see his older stuff, and I've seen a few of his clips, he's a fucking really articulate man.
Who's that?
George W. Bush.
Yeah.
It's like
senior, a junior.
Junior, yeah, junior, not senior. Yeah, he is. He really is.
Articulate.
He really is.
Articulate.
I know. It's bizarre.
Articulate.
It's bizarre.
Articulate. Articulate. Really? Articulate.
Really? It's bizarre.
He's articulate.
It's No, as bizarre as it sounds, you know what? I reckon that he dumbed down himself to
Ecstasy.
appeal, probably, or coke or whatever. But just to appeal to the common man, like, you know, if you've got, I don't know, 30-40% of your constituents
Yeah.
being, you know,
Homosexual.
no, not being overly educated and struggling and trying to, you know, carve out a living and, you know, working hard and not working hard as well and just being fucked up or whatever.
Living for a good time in the bay. Na 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 na.
Well, that
Na 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 na.
world. Yes.
Whoa, is a working class man.
Yeah. So, you got that. Well, you've got to try to appeal to them, don't you? And how do you do that?
Yeah.
Dumb yourself
Reckon
down.
he's dumbed himself down.
Fuck yeah. Absolutely. I think politicians do that all the time, actually. I mean, if a politician came out now, let's say ScoMo came out.
That's gay.
If he came out and started talking fucking Oxford English,
Yeah.
he's probably educated from there. Oh, look, I don't know his history. I mean, people are going to turn around and go, who's this fucking faggot? All right? Fuck him up the arse.
Yeah.
You know? Kevin Rudd pulled it off with his toffee attitude.
Yeah.
But, you know, there was a unique time where, you know, you had a long Liberal leader for a very long time. And, you know, there was something, I don't know, for whatever reason, he could pull it off. But yeah, generally, you got to speak the common language if you're a politician. But these guys are pretty well educated. They can pull, you know, they can express things in very eloquent terms. I have no doubt that all of them could, but you know, they can't do that because it just doesn't come across as, it's not good politics, I think.
And
Having said that, I don't really know, man. They might be all a bunch of fucking idiots. Who knows?
us all politicians are fucked.
Well, you know what they talk about politicians? If you break down the word, it's poly, meaning many, and ticks, blood-sucking fucking creatures.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we will end this podcast.
No, it's just getting good, man. Don't end it. Come
You
on.
want to keep going, do you?
No, not particularly. I'm fucked, man.
Because
We're doing
all
this fucking
podcasts are fucked.